Chapter 1032. Yang Ming didn't dare to delay. He quickly put on his clothes and ran out of Wang Xiaoyan's villa. At the door of his villa, he saw a familiar car parked in front of the villa. It was Ho Jinhan's broken Jetta. Looking at the person in the car, it was actually Zhang Zhishan. When Zhang Zhishan saw Yang Ming come out, he opened the door and got off. "Brother Yang, did I find the wrong place? Brother Bao told me that it was here, Sun Moon Pavilion. Do you live next door?" "No, I went to a friend's house." "You found the right place." Yang Ming said. "Why? Did you contact Bao Sanli?" "Yeah, after I came back from the ancestral master's place, I saw that it was quite late, so I didn't bother you. I went directly to Brother Bao. I didn't expect that he had already prepared a house and a car for me." Zhang Zhishan said. Brother Bao's efficiency is really fast. Yang Ming didn't expect that Bao Sanli would get it done so quickly after he mentioned it to him. The most strange thing was that the two actually contacted each other. However, it saved him a lot of trouble. This was quite good. He just asked curiously, "Why did Bao Sanli give you such a broken car? Which organization eliminated this car? It's almost scrapped." "I picked this myself." Zhang Zhishan said with some embarrassment. "Brother Bao took me to the parking lot and asked me to pick a car. I think this car is good. It's relatively broken and inconspicuous. Okay, do as you like it." "It's fine as long as you like it." Yang Ming smiled bitterly and shook his head. He remembered that after Ho Jinhan's car was eliminated, it seemed to be distributed to someone. He didn't expect it to be idle again. However, it could be seen that the security company was very profitable. It was not what it used to be. "Brother Yang, are you going out?" asked Zhang Zhishan. I was just thinking about how to get there, and then I saw you." Yang Ming's car crashed yesterday and was towed away for repair. Wang Xiaoyan, this chick, stepped on the accelerator quite fiercely. It was estimated that it would take at least 10 days to half a month to repair it. Zhang Zhishan helped Yang Ming open the door of the front passenger seat. After a long time, he finally managed to open it. He said awkwardly, "This door is a little deformed. It's not easy to open. I say, Zhishan, hurry up and get me a new car. I haven't had a car for the past half a month. Do you want me to freeze to death in this leaky car?" Yang Ming smiled bitterly. "All right, after you finish with me, you can get me a new car tonight. Ask Bao Sanli to get you an Audi." "Okay, Brother Yang." Zhang Zhishan nodded. Who didn't want to drive a good car? It was just that Zhang Zhishan wasn't familiar with Bao Sanli. He was embarrassed to choose a good car, so he chose such a broken car. After giving directions to Zhang Zhishan, the two of them rushed towards Chen Mingyan's house. When they passed by the pharmacy on the way, Yang Ming got off and bought some cold medicine. When they arrived at Chen Mingyan's house, Yang Ming asked Zhang Zhishan to wait for him here. He went upstairs alone. Chen Dazhuang had already arrived. Chen Fei had probably told him that Yang Ming had a way to help him, so Chen Dazhuang greeted Yang Ming very warmly. "Little Yang, you are here." Yang Ming nodded, but he didn't have the mood to chat with him. He just said to Chen Fei, "Uncle Chen, where is Chen Mengyan? How is she?" "In her room, lying in bed. She doesn't eat breakfast. You should go and see her." Chen Fei sighed and pointed to Chen Mingyan's door. Yang Ming walked quickly to the front of Chen Mingyan's room. Just as he was about to knock on the door, Chen Fei said, "The door is not locked. You can go in directly." Yang Ming pushed it. Sure enough, the door was not locked. After he went in, he closed the door again. However, he saw Chen Mengyan lying in bed with her eyes closed. Her face was very pale. "Mengyan, how are you?" "I came to see you." Yang Ming sat on Chen Mengyan's bed, took her little hand, and asked softly. Chen Mengyan had already woken up, but her whole body was cold, so she curled up in the quilt and didn't want to move. When she heard Yang Ming's voice, Chen Mengyan was suddenly happy. She opened her eyes and looked at Yang Ming. Why are you here? I heard from Uncle Chen that you were sick, so I rushed over. Right, I bought medicine for you. You should take it first. Yang Ming suddenly thought of a problem. Have you not eaten yet? Chen Mengyan nodded slightly. Then you should eat something first before taking the medicine. Yang Ming hesitated and said, I am going to get something. You wait for me. Originally, Chen Mengyan didn't have much appetite, but when she saw that Yang Ming was very good to her, she didn't object. Yang Ming went out of Chen Mengyan's room. Chen Fei and Chen Dazhuang were talking in the living room. It seemed that Chen Fei was persuading Chen Dazhuang. Dazhuang, Chen Afu brought this upon himself. You don't have to be too guilty. Chen Fei sighed. Chen Fei, I also know that it's all my fault. I committed a crime in the past and went to prison. I didn't educate Afu well, so he became like this now. Chen Dazhuang complained, thinking about how he harmed so many people. I feel uneasy in my heart. Forget it, Dazhuang. Fu also got the punishment he deserved. Don't think so much. You're still young. Quickly find a way to survive and start a family. That's the most important thing. Chen Fei advised. As they were talking, they saw Yang Ming come out, so Chen Fei asked, Yang Ming, have you seen Meng Yan? Can you go now? Meng Yan didn't eat anything. She can't take the medicine. I plan to come out and see if there is anything to eat. I will give her some and let her take the medicine. Yang Ming said. Meng Yan's mother made porridge. It is in the kitchen. You can go and get it yourself. Chen Fei said. Yang Ming came to the kitchen and saw that there was still some porridge in the pot, but it was a little cold. So, he plugged in the electricity and heated it for a while. Then, he found a clean bowl, scooped out a bowl, and carefully brought it to Chen Mengyan's room. Mengyan, come and eat the porridge. Yang Ming put the bowl on Chen Mengyan's bedside table, then he scooped a little with a small spoon, put it in his mouth and blew. He said to Chen Mengyan, open your mouth. Chen Mengyan saw Yang Ming's appearance. Suddenly, her heart was full of sweet happiness. She struggled to get up, but she found that she had no strength in her body. She was used to living in the villa. She couldn't adapt when she suddenly went home. In the villa, Chen Mengyan almost slept naked. It had become a habit. When she went home, she forgot to wear pajamas. As a result, she was cold all night, and she had a fever in the morning. Seeing Chen Mengyan struggling to get up but couldn't, Yang Ming smiled and said, don't get up. I will feed you. You feed me? How are you going to feed me? Chen Mengyan was somewhat inexplicable. If I don't sit up, how can I eat? However, she saw Yang Ming put the porridge in the spoon into his mouth. She was a little puzzled. Why did Yang Ming eat by himself? Then, she saw Yang Ming leaning down and aiming his mouth at her mouth. Chen Mengyan was shocked. She immediately understood what Yang Ming was going to do. She said shyly, don't. I have a cold. I should pass it to you. It was fine if Chen Mengyan didn't speak. Once she spoke, Yang Ming took the opportunity to attack Chen Mengyan's small mouth. He put the porridge in his mouth into Chen Mengyan's mouth little by little. After he finished, Chen Mengyan's face was full of redness, and her eyes became full of love. It doesn't matter. My physique is good. I won't catch a cold easily. Yang Ming said with a smile, come, eat some more. Chen Mengyan didn't stop Yang Ming this time. She also liked Yang Ming's way of feeding porridge. Only the two parties could understand the sweetness. After eating a few mouthfuls of porridge, Chen Mengyan's complexion recovered a little. Yang Ming helped her sit up. After feeding her the cold medicine, he said, I have to go out. You stay at home and recuperate. I will come to see you in the afternoon. Where are you going? Chen Mengyan still wanted to ask Yang Ming to accompany her and watch her sleep, but she didn't expect Yang Ming to leave. Your second uncle, Chen Dazhuang, is outside. Let's go and see Chen Afu together. Yang Ming said. Oh, then you go. Go early and come back early. Chen Mengyan didn't think much. She just thought that Yang Ming was going to visit Chen Afu because they were classmates. Yang Ming covered Chen Mengyan with a quilt and let her close her eyes in peace. He quietly left Chen Mengyan's room. Uncle Chen Mengyan ate some porridge and took the medicine. Let's go, said Yang Ming. Hee, you still have a way. Mengyan's mother and I didn't eat it no matter what we said. Chen Fei said with a smile, when you came, she ate it. It seems that the power of love is still great. Uncle Chen, you are kidding. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. Hee, you go quickly. Xia Bingbao has already informed them. The car is probably downstairs, said Chen Fei. Yang Ming nodded and went downstairs with Chen Dazhuang. Sure enough, they saw a very strange shape. It was a military green car with a military license plate parked downstairs in Chen Mengyan's home. Yang Ming and Chen Dazhuang went downstairs. The door of the car opened. Xia Bingbao jumped down from above. When he saw Yang Ming, he smiled and said, You kid, you actually hung up on me. I was taking a shower. How can I have time to talk to you? Yang Ming smiled awkwardly. This guy is not going to let me go. Get in the car. Xia Bingbao nodded to Chen Dazhuang. Chen Dazhuang immediately followed Xia Bingbao in fear and trepidation and walked in the direction of the car. Xia Bingbao opened the back door of the car and let Chen Dazhuang get in the car. Yang Ming wanted to follow, but he was stopped by Xia Bingbao. What are you doing? You sit in front. The back door slowly closed. Xia Bingbao got into the driver's seat, and Yang Ming sat in the passenger's seat. Chapter 1033. The rear door slowly closed. Xia Bingbao got into the driver's seat, and Yang Ming sat in the passenger's seat. Just now, when the rear door opened, Yang Ming had already seen the situation inside. It was completely closed. Once the door was closed, he couldn't see the situation outside. The location is very confidential. Are you afraid that he will know? After Yang Ming got in the car, he asked Xia Bingbao. Yes, I have already made an exception to let him meet with Chen Afu. If it weren't for your face, this request would not be agreed, replied Xia Bingbao. Then why did you let me sit in the front? Aren't you afraid that I will know the location? Yang Ming smiled. If I let you sit in the back, can't you see? Xia Bingbao glared at Yang Ming and said helplessly. He was very clear about what this guy's special ability was. The two looked at each other and smiled. They both knew what each other was referring to. I know the purpose of you calling me here. Isn't it because you don't want to owe me a favor? Okay, it doesn't matter. I won't ask you for anything anyway. Yang Ming saw that Xia Bingbao deliberately wanted to repay his favor, so he simply said generously. When Yang Ming said this, Xia Bingbao was a little embarrassed. Yang Ming might become his brother-in-law in the future. If the relationship was too stiff, there was no way to get along in the future. So, he said awkwardly, do you think I am that kind of person? I called you here just to let you familiarize yourself with the office here and get to know each other. It will be convenient to do things in the future. Really? Yang Ming obviously didn't believe it. Of course, it's true. Xia Bingbao said, no one can erase your contributions. You can rest assured. Then, I will believe you for the time being. Yang Ming didn't care much about this, because he didn't regard what he was doing as his main job. Catching Chen Afu was just a piece of cake. If he really had to do something risky, he might as well be an assassin. Yang Ming didn't care much about this because he didn't regard what he was doing as his main job. Is there someone following behind? Xia Bingbao's senses were very keen. He immediately felt that someone was following behind the car. No, it's my man. Yang Ming looked in the rearview mirror and said, "I'll tell him." After that, Yang Ming took out his phone and called Zhang Jishan. He told Zhang Jishan to wait for him downstairs in Chen Mingyan's neighborhood. The car drove all the way forward and soon drove out of Songjiang City and entered the highway out of the city. Near the toll booth at the highway intersection, there was a team of people checking cars. They were jointly composed of local and military officials. However, when Xia Bingbao passed by, the inspector just glanced at the investigation pass placed in the lower left corner of the car windshield and let him pass. The license plate numbers of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau were all separate, and there was also a pass from the bureau in front, so it couldn't be fake. "Your car is pretty awesome," Yang Ming said with a smile. "You also have a car. I'm just afraid that you won't drive it." Xia Bingbao knew that Yang Ming was just saying it casually. He was definitely not really interested in this. If Yang Ming was interested in the power of the bureau, it wouldn't be like this now. The car turned into the side road at a fork in the road ahead, then turned right to a very deserted path. They moved forward with potholes all the way and finally entered a courtyard that looked like a factory. However, when they entered the courtyard, they found that it was different. It was heavily guarded, and there were many sentries. They were all armed. Yang Ming and Xia Bingbao got out of the car and walked to the office building with Chen Dazhuang. Chen Dazhuang didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it because he hadn't seen much of the world. He thought that this was a place similar to a detention center, so it was reasonable to have many sentries. When they came to a door, Xia Bingbao opened the door, and the three people walked in together. This was the temporary place where Chen Afu was detained. Chen Afu was writing something on the desk inside. When he saw someone come in, he looked up and saw Chen Dazhuang. He was stunned. "Afu." Chen Dazhuang ran over in a few steps, but because there was a large glass in the middle, he could only look at Chen Afu from the outside. "Why are you here?" Chen Afu looked at Chen Dazhuang in surprise. "Afu, I am your father. I am here to see you." Chen Dazhuang's tears came out. He looked at Chen Afu and said, "Afu, although you have broken the law and done wrong things, you are still my son after all. You go. I don't want to see you." Chen Afu was flustered and said quickly, "Afu, you still can't forgive your father." "Back then, Chen Dazhuang wanted to say it, but Chen Afu turned his head and stopped listening. Chen Dazhuang stood outside and looked for a long time. He sighed and turned to go out the door. Yang Ming was slightly annoyed. How can this Chen Afu be so heartless? Chen Dazhuang wanted to see him, so he asked people to find him. He finally came, but he ignored him. "Brother Xia, you go out with second Uncle Chen first. I will talk to Chen Afu." Yang Ming frowned and said. Xia Bingbao nodded and went out the door. Although he didn't know what Yang Ming was going to do, he believed that Yang Ming wouldn't do anything that would harm the interests of the investigation bureau. "Just in time, Yang Ming, I also have something to say to you." Chen Afu listened to Yang Ming's words and said quickly. "You said? What do you want to say to me? How hard is it for your father to see you? He found Shen Mingyan's father and found a lot of connections to see you, but you ignored him?" Yang Ming said angrily. "Yang Ming, I also want to talk to you about this. You listen to me before you scold me." Chen Afu sighed. "In the past few days, I also understood that what I did before was really extreme. But later, I really didn't want to continue to scare people. I was tired of it, but Elder, you forced me to do it. I couldn't help it. It's useless for you to say this to me. I can't decide what punishment you will receive." Yang Ming said faintly. "I'm not pleading with you. I'm just saying my own thoughts." Chen Afu smiled bitterly. "Moreover, I decided to cooperate with you to study Elder Yu's voodoo. I'm just imprisoned for life. Then what do you want to say?" asked Yang Ming. "Chen Dazhuang is my father. How can I not have any feelings for him? Although I hate him because he abandoned me and my mother when I was very young, He is still my father after all. Chen Afu sighed. I just treated him like this because I want him to give up on me because I will leave Songjiang soon. We may never see each other again in the future. If I give him hope, won't he be more sad? What will he do in the future? After listening to Chen Afu's words, Yang Ming was a little shocked. He really didn't expect that Chen Afu would say these words. However, thinking about it, so many things happened, and Chen Afu was punished. His state of mind was naturally different. So, I decided to be cold to him, so that he can start a new life in the future. Chen Afu said, Yang Ming, I heard him say that Chen Mengyan and I are also relatives. No matter how much you hate me and how much trouble I have created for you in the past, I want to apologize to you here. I hope that you can help my father based on the fact that we are classmates. Chen Mengyan and I are relatives. I know that you are very resourceful. It shouldn't be difficult to help him find a job. You can rest assured about this. I will do it even if you don't say it. Yang Ming nodded. But you are so confused. Do you think that your father will have a good life if you are like this now? Will his heart be at peace? You didn't even recognize him when you met him for the last time. How can he be at ease for the rest of his life? If it were me, I would regret it for the rest of my life. Ah! Chen Afu exclaimed. Yang Ming's words woke him up from his dream. Chen Afu quickly asked, You are right. Why didn't I think of it before? It's not too late now. Well, what you said, I can promise you because second Uncle Chen is Mengyan's relative. It is necessary to take care of him. Yang Ming said, I will find him. If you have anything to say, you can say it. Okay, thank you, Yang Ming. Really? Chen Afu nodded and said while choking. Yang Ming waved his hand and went out of the room. The resentment between the two people before, in Yang Ming's view, was nothing. He was just a lackey of Wang Jitao at that time. What the master asked him to do, he naturally did it. Seeing Yang Ming come out, Chen Dazhuang quickly greeted him and asked in a hurry, Yang Ming, what did Afu say? Second Uncle Chen Afu said that he still wants to see you alone. Yang Ming said, you go quickly. He is waiting for you inside. Chen Dazhuang's face was happy. He also understood in his heart that Yang Ming must have said something to Chen Afu, so Chen Afu changed his mind. He nodded gratefully and went in. I didn't expect you to be so good at enlightening people. After Chen Dazhuang went in, Xia Bingbao smiled and said to Yang Ming. You heard it all? Yang Ming glanced at Xia Bingbao and asked with a smile. N. Xia Bingbao pointed to the mini earplugs in his ear and said, however, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just listened to the movements inside at all times. I understand. You don't have to explain. Yang Ming waved his hand and smiled indifferently. Just in case, it was natural for Xia Bingbao to monitor the situation inside. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't care about this. After about half an hour, Chen Dazhuang walked out of the room with red eyes. Of course, the conversation between him and Chen Afu was also passed to Xia Bingbao and Yang Ming's ears. Both of them were somewhat moved. Chen Dazhuang got what he wanted. He also knew that his son would use the rest of his life to make contributions to society to atone for his sins. His heart was a lot calmer. He said to Yang Ming and Xia Bingbao, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Okay, let's go back. Chapter 1034. On the way back from the investigation bureau, Chen Dazhuang was still arranged to sit at the back. However, his expression was very sad and sad. Yang Ming hesitated and said to Xia Bingbao, I will sit at the back later. Xia Bingbao knew that Yang Ming wanted to enlighten Chen Dazhuang, so he nodded and agreed. The rear door slowly closed, and the lights in the car lit up. The environment inside was obviously good. There were very comfortable seats and an automatic water dispenser. Second Uncle Chen. After getting in the car, Yang Ming looked at Chen Dazhuang's expression and advised, Chen Afu's current result is already the best. Don't be sad anymore. Qin Dazhuang nodded and said, I understand, but after all, he is my son. He has done so many wrong things. As a father, I also feel guilty in my heart. Hee, second Uncle Qin, things in this world are hard to say. You don't have to be too sad. Maybe one day, Qin Afu may use his own actions to exchange for his freedom. Yang Ming knew that this possibility was almost zero, but this white lie was harmless. So, second Uncle Qin, I think you should find a job now and live well. This is the right thing to do. Is what you said true? Afu still has a chance to come back. After Qin Dazhuang heard it, there was a hint of joy on his face. He also saw that Yang Ming had a good relationship with Xia Bingbao, the person in charge of this case. He didn't know what role Yang Ming played, but he felt that Yang Ming's words still had some credibility. There will definitely be opportunities, but this is not easy to fight for. It depends on him, said Yang Ming. Hee, it's good that there is a chance. Qin Dazhuang also showed a smile. You are right. I will work hard to live and wait for the day when Afu comes back. As for the job, second Uncle Qin, you don't have to worry. I still have some connections in Songjiang. Yang Ming smiled and said, however, I don't dare to talk about those high positions. You can start from an ordinary position. I just got out of prison not long ago. Why would a normal place want me? It's good to have a stable job. Why would I be picky? Qin Dazhuang smiled bitterly. If you, Yang Ming, can help me find a job, then I would be very grateful. I'm not afraid of being dirty or tired. I've worked a lot in prison. I'm fine as long as you want me. That's not necessary. Weren't you involved in company trading before? How about this? You can go to Mingyang Heavy Industry to be a salesperson. As long as you do well, you don't have to worry about not having a chance to be promoted, said Yang Ming. Ah. That's great. I'll definitely do my best. Qin Dazhuang was both surprised and delighted as he hurriedly promised. In fact, Yang Ming just casually arranged a position for him. It was not an important position, so it was not a big deal. Furthermore, the position of a salesperson was one where the more work one did, the less one got paid. How much one earned depended on one's own hard work. Yang Ming didn't contact his father directly. Instead, he called Wang Jinda and asked him to help arrange it. Wang Jinda was a person on Bao Sanli's side. He naturally obeyed Yang Ming's words. Back at Qin Mengyan's home, Yang Ming was pleasantly surprised to find that Qin Mengyan could already walk. It seemed that the cold medicine had worked. Mengyan, why aren't you sleeping? It's better to sleep a little more. Yang Ming smiled and sat next to Qin Mengyan. At this moment, Qin Mengyan was watching TV on the sofa. I'm awake. I'm not sleepy. Qin Mengyan said, I feel much better. I may be fine after taking some medicine. What a pity. Yang Ming pretended to be disappointed. What's a pity? Qin Mengyan was inexplicable. It's a pity that you can move by yourself. You don't need me to feed you porridge. Yang Ming sighed and said. You're so annoying. Qin Mengyan blushed and complained. Qin Mengyan's illness was not fully recovered. Yang Ming couldn't immediately take her back to the villa. Although both of them were reluctant, they didn't dare to do anything out of line under the eyes of Qin Fei and Mother Qin. On the way back, Yang Ming received a call from Wang Xiaoyan. Wei Jin applied for a mission to assassinate Zhou Ruoguang on the internet. Although Yang Ming coveted Wei Jin's company, he didn't want to be involved in hiring a murderer. After all, once he was involved, it would be difficult to get away. Therefore, he asked Wei Jin to find an assassin company. In this way, it had little to do with him. Have you contacted him? Asked Yang Ming. Not yet. Didn't you talk to him? I don't know what to do. Wang Xiaoyan said. Okay, I got it. Yang Ming said, let's talk about it when I go back. According to Yang Ming's idea, he could just find a person in Li Chang's training camp, and it was enough to complete this heavy task. Back at Wang Xiaoyan's villa, Yang Ming saw Wei Jin's mission request on Wang Xiaoyan's computer. However, this guy was really funny. He actually left a message saying that he had to kill Zhou Ruoguang at all costs. Yang Ming smiled and called Bao Sanli and asked, "What is the approximate market value of Dikang real estate? Is it calculated according to the normal price, or is the price lowered?" Although Bao Sanli was very inexplicable why Yang Ming would ask this, he still answered truthfully. "Of course, it is the normal price. There is no need to lower the price." Yang Ming thought, this is just a matter of getting from the left pocket to the right pocket. The price has nothing to do with me. "Okay, Brother Yang, wait a moment. I will ask someone to calculate it, and then I will call you back," said Bao Sanli. "Okay, hurry up." Yang Ming was eager to know the price of Dikang real estate, so he could give Wei Jin an exorbitant price. There was a slight difference between the two prices, but it was fine as long as the difference was not big. "I now understand that it is a wise choice to ask you to help with the assassin group. You are not only ruthless, but the most important thing is that you are black-hearted." Wang Xiaoyan had to sigh. Yang Ming was too powerful. He could ask for so much money for such a broken mission without any technical content. Many of the complicated missions from her family were not as expensive as Yang Ming's mission this time. "Of course, it depends on who I am dealing with. This Wei Jin's father is not a good person. He wanted to set fire to my company, and I killed him directly. However, my anger has not been reduced, so I can only repay my father's debt." Yang Ming smiled and said, "As for that Zhou Ruoguang, he is a pure idiot. After chasing Chen Mengyan and Zhao Ying, I have long found him unpleasant." Yang Ming did not avoid Wang Xiaoyan. These things were the same for both of them. As an assassin, being too soft-hearted could not achieve great things. "Hee, I think you are killing two birds with one stone." Wang Xiaoyan smiled and said, "However, let's say it first. The money of the assassin group is given to the assassin group, so it is ours. You can't pocket it." Yang Ming was stunned and then smiled bitterly. "I think you are more treacherous than me. Of course, the assassin group can solve the big problem with this large amount of money." Wang Xiaoyan nodded and said seriously. Yang Ming sighed helplessly when he heard it. It was not that he was distressed by the money, but Yang Ming felt that Wang Xiaoyan's idea was really interesting. Sometimes you are too smart for your own good. Since the assassin group has been taken over by me, I naturally will not leave it alone. If I want to make it big and strong, it is not enough to rely on strength alone. I also need money. Even without this money, I will still continue to invest in the assassin group." After Wang Xiaoyan heard Yang Ming's words, her face suddenly turned red. She felt that she was indeed a little petty. She said embarrassedly, "I just said it casually." "You will be punished for saying it casually." "I'll punish you tonight," said Yang Ming. Originally, the woman on top and the man on the bottom was a very wonderful position. It could save a lot of effort, but that was for others. For Wang Xiaoyan, it was impossible. This chick was crazy, and she had a strong desire to conquer. The problem of who was on top and who was on the bottom with Yang Ming had developed into a game of rock, paper, scissors. "Well, then I will let you do it this time," Wang Xiaoyan said with a smile. She did not expect that Yang Ming would use this as a punishment, but Wang Xiaoyan did not reject it. It was just that the relationship between the two people was getting better and better. "Is it just as simple as cooperation?" Wang Xiaoyan sighed. "What should I do if I really fall into it?" If Yang Ming made the assassin group the strongest in the world, then it was fine. In that case, she could naturally enjoy her life. But if Yang Ming did not make the assassin group the strongest, what should she do? Do I have to obey the fate arranged by my father, return to the family, and marry the apprentice of the so-called king of assassins that I don't like and have never seen before? Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan was a little upset. She couldn't help but frown. What's wrong? Yang Ming also saw that Wang Xiaoyan seemed to have something on her mind, so he asked. Nothing. Wang Xiaoyan sighed faintly and shook her head. I suddenly remembered some unhappy things, but it doesn't matter. Why don't I give you the opportunity tonight? Yang Ming coaxed Wang Xiaoyan happily. Hee, this is what you said. Wang Xiaoyan did not even decline and directly agreed. Yang Ming thought, don't you know what is modesty? However, the words that were said were spilled water. It was impossible to take it back. He could only accept it. Well, I said it. Yang Ming smiled and said, are you happy now? It's okay. Wang Xiaoyan smiled and said, Yang Ming, when can we get a big mission, the kind recognized by the International Assassin Ranking System? Soon, right? Yang Ming didn't know if there was news from Fang Tian's side. There is no hurry. Let's wait. The school is about to start. It is not good to leave at this time. Chapter 1035. That's fine. After I start school, I will move to the main campus. It will be more convenient to contact in the future, said Wang Xiaoyan. As they were talking, Yang Ming's phone rang. It was Bao Sanli. Hey, how is it? Is the result out? Yang Ming picked up the phone and asked impatiently. The preliminary evaluation results are out. The total market value of Dekang Real Estate and its property companies is about 200 million yuan, but they still owe the bank a loan of more than 100 million yuan. The specific number is not clear yet. I am asking someone to inquire, said Bao Sanli. In other words, the real value of Dekang Real Estate is only a few tens of millions, asked Yang Ming after listening. The price didn't have much to do with him, but he had to figure out how much it was so that he could quote Wei Jin. It should be like this, but I can only give you the specific information after the data comes out, said Bao Sanli. Well, contact me immediately when you have the specific results, said Yang Ming. How is it? Hanging up the phone, Wang Xiaoyan asked anxiously. After all, it was related to the assassin group. Wang Xiaoyan was particularly concerned. The company is probably worth tens of millions. The specific results have not come out yet. When the results come out, let's find someone to talk to Wei Jin, said Yang Ming. Bao Sanli called again. The loan that Dekang Real Estate owed to the bank had been found out. At present, the total value of Dekang Real Estate was about 70 million yuan. Okay, I got it. Yang Ming said, you study it and prepare 70 million yuan. Then, draft an acquisition intent. I am going to get Wei Jin's company. Ah. Bao Sanli was obviously stunned. Can Wei Jin sell the company? Will he agree with 70 million yuan? He will probably agree. You should prepare first. Yang Ming instructed. Okay. Bao Sanli found it strange, but he didn't say much. Instead, he quickly followed Yang Ming's instructions. After hanging up the phone, Wang Xiaoyan sighed. You're ruthless. You want 70 million yuan for a mission, and you're going to buy his company with it. One is willing to be beaten, and one is willing to be beaten. Who cares so much? Yang Ming smiled and said, well, it is time to talk to Wei Jin about the price. Yang Ming called Li Chang and asked him and Golden Bull to come to Wang Xiaoyan's villa. Li Chang had never been here before, but Golden Bull had been here before. The two of them happened to be companions. Half an hour later, Li Chang and Golden Bull arrived at Wang Xiaoyan's villa. Seeing that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were here, they knew that something big must have happened. The two of them quietly changed their shoes and sat on the sofa in the living room. After a while, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan came over with a notebook. Yang Ming said, Golden Bull, I heard that you were the one who talked about the Black Widow's business before, right? Yes, Brother Yang. I was responsible for talking about the phone business and online business in the past. Golden Bull nodded and replied. Okay, take a look at this mission. Yang Ming pushed the notebook in front of Golden Bull and Li Chang. The two of them quickly looked down. Golden Bull and Li Chang looked at it carefully. Wei Jin's request was very simple. The two of them finished reading it in a few seconds, but Yang Ming didn't speak, so the two of them didn't dare to say anything. What do you think? Yang Ming looked up at Golden Bull and said. Brother Yang, in the past, after we received this kind of mission, we first investigated the identity and environment of the target to see if it was possible to operate, and then we would give the employer an answer, said Golden Bull. This target doesn't need to be investigated. You can accept it. Yang Ming said, you just need to be responsible for contacting the applicant. Okay, Brother Yang, how much do we charge for this mission? In the past, this kind of mission was about 5 million. Golden Bull asked for advice. After all, the assassin group was restructured, and the price might not be the same as before. 70 million, this is the price. Tell him that it can't be less than a penny, said Yang Ming. Ah. Golden Bull was stunned. He thought, no way, right? Did I hear it wrong? Such a humble mission costs 70 million? Won't the employer be scared away? However, since it was Yang Ming who said it, Wang Xiaoyan had no opinion on the side, so Golden Bull had to nod and say, okay. Li Chang, you learn the process from Golden Bull. You decide who to send, said Yang Ming. Don't worry, Brother Yang. Leave it to me. Li Chang nodded and replied. After the two people left, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan went upstairs. There was nothing else, so they naturally continued to cultivate the tacit understanding between the two of them. However, not long after the two showered, Yang Ming received a call from Wei Jin. It seemed that this guy really couldn't wait. Hello? Wei Jin? Why are you calling me so late at night? Yang Ming pretended to be tired and asked. Yang Ming, I have an important matter to look for you. If it were an ordinary matter, I wouldn't disturb you so late at night. Wei Jin said, that matter, there is some progress. Now, I just need to sell the company. Well, can't we talk about this tomorrow? Yang Ming deliberately pretended to be not very enthusiastic. Yang Ming, I'm really in a hurry. Can we finalize this matter today? Wei Jin said anxiously. Well, then let's talk about it now. Yang Ming sighed. I just took a shower and was about to go to bed. So, what do you say? Yang Ming, you look at the company. Should we talk about it now? Wei Jin was afraid that Yang Ming would go back on his words, so he didn't care that it was late and quickly called Yang Ming. This way, Wei Jin, I don't know how much your company is worth now, and I can't just set a price. Yang Ming said, moreover, I don't have enough funds in my hands now. When Wei Jin heard Yang Ming's words, he was a little anxious and said, Yang Ming, Brother Yang. You don't have to. If you don't buy it, what should I do? My company guarantees a low price, oh? First. Tell me about it first. I'll see if I can accept it. Yang Ming said with some amusement. Okay, Dekang Real Estate. I found someone to evaluate it. Excluding the bank loan, the value is about 100 million, said Wei Jin. After listening to Wei Jin's words, Yang Ming thought, who are you kidding? 100 million? Do you really think I don't know anything? So he said with some difficulty, 100 million? So much? Of course, that's just the value. Hearing Yang Ming's words, Wei Jin quickly said, however, Brother Yang, if you buy it, I will give you a 50% discount. A 50% discount? How about 50 million? Wei Jin was afraid that Yang Ming didn't want it, so he wanted to sell the company as soon as possible. He didn't have a business mind, so he gave Yang Ming a 50% discount. Yang Ming was suddenly stunned. He thought, no way. I wanted to give him 80 million so that he could earn 10 million. As a result, this kid quoted a price of 50 million. If I don't accept it, wouldn't I be a fool? So Yang Ming deliberately said in a hesitant tone, well, 50 million is still acceptable. Let's start to study the contract in the next few days. Brother Yang, don't wait for a few days. Can you do it today? I'm really anxious. It's very urgent. Wei Jin said, I'll have to trouble you. Let's do it tonight. Tonight? Yang Ming didn't expect Wei Jin to be so impatient, but this kind of bargain couldn't be picked up every day. Being faster could only be good for him, but there was no harm. So, Yang Ming said, well, you wait for me. I will send someone to Dekang Real Estate. Let's settle the contract today. Okay, Brother Yang, then I will go now. Wei Jin heard that Yang Ming agreed, and he was happy immediately. How did it become 50 million again? Wang Xiaoyan waited for Yang Ming to hang up the phone and asked with some surprise. Who knows what this kid is thinking? He gave me a discount again, but he is willing to lose money. What can I do? Yang Ming said helplessly. You're still acting innocent after getting a bargain. Wang Xiaoyan said, if the Black Widow could meet such a fool in the past, it wouldn't have developed so badly. Then, do you still have money to buy a villa? Yang Ming didn't believe that Wang Xiaoyan would be short of money. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly blushed. She waved her fist and hit Yang Ming. She said bitterly, can't you cooperate? Do you have to expose other people's scars before you are happy? Yang Ming smiled and understood that this was just an excuse Wang Xiaoyan gave herself, but it was exposed. How could she not be angry? When Bao Sanli learned that he could buy Dekang Real Estate with only 50 million yuan, his surprised expression could be imagined. He was stunned for a long time before he said, Brother Yang, how did you do it? This kid is stupid. I can't help it, said Yang Ming. Although Wei Jin was very pitiful now, Yang Ming did not sympathize with him. There was nothing to sympathize with. He asked for these. If he didn't insist on using schemes to harm Lu Baoqiang and insist on acting badass in front of Yang Ming, how could he end up like this? Okay, Brother Yang, then I will take over the company with President Ho. Bao Sanli no longer asked anything. If Yang Ming wanted him to know, he would naturally tell him. If he didn't want him to know, he wouldn't ask. Wei Jin really couldn't wait. He would rather lose 20 million yuan than let Zhou Ruoguang live one more day. Fortunately, Wei Dekang had left him more than 100 million yuan in the bank savings. He couldn't do anything with less than 20 million yuan. He could rely on the remaining money to live abroad with Sister Gu for the rest of his life. The lawyer had been found and was waiting at Dekang Real Estate. When Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan arrived, the two sides didn't have any negotiations at all. They directly finalized the contract and handed it to each other's lawyers for review. After there were no problems, they signed it. At this point, Dekang Real Estate was officially under the banner of Ming Yang Entertainment and became one of Yang Ming's industries. Chapter 1036. After getting the money, Wei Jin couldn't wait to remit the debt to the designated account of the Black Widow assassin group. Wei Jin was so anxious that he didn't even talk about the deposit and paid the full amount directly. If this were a scammer with a bad reputation, he would directly take Wei Jin's money and run away. Wei Jin couldn't find a place to cry. However, fortunately, Zhou Ruoguang was also Yang Ming's enemy. Yang Ming's plan to get rid of him was also within the plan. The person was found by Li Chang. He casually selected a person from the previous team to perform the mission. However, it was done very cleanly, and there was no evidence left behind. Zhou Ruoguang's death seemed to be normal. He walked on the road and accidentally fell into the sewer without a cover. Of course, he did not die immediately, but he starved to death below. Therefore, no one suspected that someone had done something. Falling into the sewer, being injured and starving to death could only be said that his luck was too bad. At most, everyone condemned the thief who stole the sewer cover. After Yang Ming learned the news, He and Wang Xiaoyan hugged each other in bed for a long time. Who did this? Isn't he too talented? Killing without a trace. He made a phone call and asked Li Chang. As a result, Li Chang's answer made Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan happy for another night. They even laughed when they thought about it. Li Chang's answer was that he sent someone to follow Zhou Ruoguang and wait for an opportunity to make a move. However, it didn't take long for Zhou Ruoguang to fall into the sewer. The only thing he sent someone to do was to half-cover the sewer so that Zhou Ruoguang would not be easily discovered. Yang Ming was shocked. No way. He died just like that? Isn't this too dramatic? It seems that this Wei Jin is also unlucky. If he contacted me a few days later, Zhou Ruoguang would have died by himself. He didn't have to spend money. Now, he spent 70 million. He still thought that Zhou Ruoguang was really killed by the assassin group. The signs of suicide seen on the surface were just a fake. Isn't this money too easy to earn? Yang Ming hung up the phone and said with a bitter smile. Wang Xiaoyan also heard it. She was already laughing on the side. If Wei Jin knows the truth, he will be furious. However, he will probably never know the truth. Who will he ask? Yang Ming smiled and said, the police naturally won't say anything to him. Besides, Zhou Ruoguang did fall in by himself. Yes, he can only accept his bad luck. Wang Xiaoyan nodded and said, but fortunately, he's still in the dark and doesn't know the truth. Songjiang, suburbs. In a secret chamber. What can you do for me? The boss, whose face couldn't be seen clearly, asked a young man beside him. Help you get rid of Yang Ming, the young man said. You? A trace of disdain flashed across the boss's mouth. Of course, but you can choose not to believe me. I hope you won't regret missing an opportunity to cooperate. The young man nodded confidently. Are you threatening me? The boss's voice was low. His voice was already very unpleasant to hear, and as a result, it became even more unpleasant. That's not it. I'm just telling the truth. The young man said without fear. Tell me your purpose. What do you want? The boss has now become cautious. Even if he chooses a partner, he must be cautious and cautious. The previous elder Yu is a guy who can't do anything right. Not only did he not get rid of Yang Ming, but he also made the situation tense, making the boss somewhat restrained. My purpose is to kill Yang Ming. The young man said affirmatively. You don't want money? The boss glanced at the young man and asked with some surprise. Of course, I am not short of money. The young man shook his head. I just want to kill Yang Ming, but I am alone. There is no way to kill him, so I want to find a strong partner and use him to achieve my purpose. How did you find me? The boss looked at the young man with some suspicion. If I say a person's name, you will know. The young man raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said a person's name. The boss nodded after listening. Okay, I believe you. However, what kind of help can you provide me? As you said, you are alone, but you are not short of money. And I happen to be not short of money. This is not a matter of money. The young man waved his hand, pointed to his head and said, I think that I am a little smart, and I am better at playing tricks. I think that you just happen to lack a strategist by your side, right? The boss hesitated slightly, nodded, and said, yes, I do lack such a person by my side. Well, it sounds like I have no loss to cooperate with you. Then, let's try to cooperate for a while first. I wish us a happy cooperation. The young man reached out and shook hands with the boss. Well, since it is a cooperative relationship, I might as well make it clear that it is not a simple matter to kill Yang Ming. The boss said, Yang Ming's reaction is excellent. He has an extremely keen sense of smell for dangerous things. To tell you the truth, I sent several pairs of people to deal with him, but they all failed. Of course, it is not a good idea to fight head-on. The young man smiled and said, if you want to play, play in the dark. What do you mean? Asked the boss. I recently investigated secretly and learned where Yang Ming lives, said the young man. What is there to show off? I already know where he lives, the boss said disapprovingly. No, listen to me. The young man said, your idea is to fight head-on with Yang Ming. You will definitely not have a good result, but my idea is that we can backstab him. What do you mean? Asked the boss, puzzled. Isn't it easier to do if you know where he lives? The young man suddenly smiled insidiously. A few days ago, the explosion of decaying real estate was reported in the newspaper. You must have seen it, right? The boss nodded, but he frowned. What does this have to do with Yang Ming? It has something to do with it. Of course, it has something to do with it. The young man smiled mysteriously. What does it have to do with it? Do you mean that the explosion was caused by Yang Ming? Asked the boss inexplicably. I don't know about that. I mean, since decaying real estate can explode, why can't Yang Ming's house explode? The young man shook his head and said in a low voice. You said that we should go to Yang Ming's house and put a bomb? The boss was stunned, but he thought about it in his heart. This seems to be a good idea. Yes. It is a very simple thing. Why do you think it is so complicated? The young man smiled and said, as long as it is done flawlessly, it will not implicate us. Implicate? I am not afraid. After the boss listened, he snorted and said, I am afraid that I can't kill Yang Ming. If the bomb can't kill him, then he is Superman. We don't have to think about going against him. We should just give up, said the young man half-jokingly. This is also true. The boss nodded and then asked, since there is such a simple way, why don't you use it? If I have someone who can be used, I don't need to look for you to cooperate. The young man smiled bitterly. With my skill, I am afraid that I will be caught before I can put the bomb in the villa. After the boss listened, he did not doubt it. After all, the young man was telling the truth. This task seemed simple, but in fact, it was not simple. It was not easy to sneak into Yang Ming's villa and put a bomb. At the very least, it had to be a professional thief. Well, I will start to ask people to do this. The boss thought about it and felt that it was not too late. Since there was an idea, it was better to put it into action quickly. However, you don't have too much hope. The young man poured cold water on him at the wrong time. Although the method is simple, the difficulty of implementing it is not small. Whether you can avoid being discovered by Yang Ming depends on the ability of your men. The boss nodded. He also understood this truth, but this kind of thing could only be gambled. If it really did not work, he would just sacrifice one of his men. Of course, before committing the crime, the boss personally explored the scene. When the real crime was committed, he could not appear to avoid additional problems. However, the result of the investigation made him overjoyed. Yang Ming was actually with Wang Xiaoyan. Although he didn't know how the two of them got together, this was a great thing. If today's matter could really be successful, then it was really killing two birds with one stone. The boss looked at the woman in a black night suit next to him, and he was a little reluctant. This woman was an orphan that he adopted since she was a child. He personally trained and raised her. Of course, the girl's other task after training was to warm his bed. After all, what he was going to do today had a certain degree of danger, so the boss was a little reluctant. But in contrast, if Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan really died, then even if he had to sacrifice the girl's life, he was willing. Xiao Ai, is there any problem? Asked the boss. No problem. The woman named Xiao Ai nodded and said. If the mission fails, don't fight recklessly. The most important thing is to save your life. The boss hesitated and instructed. I know. Xiao Ai responded. The boss sat in the car, and the young man sat next to him. As for Xiao Ai, she carried a box of explosives and disappeared into the vast night. If you can't be ruthless, you can't do big things. The young man also saw that the boss had some feelings for Xiao Ai, so he said coldly. I don't need you to teach me what to do, said the boss with some anger. The young man did not speak, but he looked at the boss with ridicule. Chapter 1037. The boss was a little uncomfortable being stared at by the young man, so he said, Xiao Ai has been with me for more than 10 years. It is impossible to have no feelings. I think it is you who has feelings for her, right? This Xiao Ai is like a robot. She has no feelings, said the young man faintly. The boss's expression suddenly froze, but he couldn't refute it. Yes, Xiao Ai was the same as the other children he had personally trained. They were cold-blooded and had no thoughts. They only knew how to complete the task and execute every order he gave. For example, Xiao Ai did not feel that there was anything wrong with letting Xiao Ai sleep with him. Xiao Ai just cooperated with his orders mechanically. His feelings for her were just his own personal feelings. It had nothing to do with Xiao Ai. In her mind, there was only simple obedience and execution. Wang Xiaoyan lay in Yang Ming's arms. She gradually liked this feeling. From the first time she went to bed with Yang Ming, she was somewhat willing to accept her loss. But now, Wang Xiaoyan was very infatuated with this feeling. Even when Yang Ming was not around, she still had some expectations. No one knew what her fate would be in the future. Wang Xiaoyan even had an impulse. If the Black Butterfly assassin group did not become the world's #1 in the future, then she would elope with Yang Ming, run far away, and no longer have anything to do with her family. However, this was just Wang Xiaoyan casually thinking about it. She also knew that the possibility was almost impossible. First, the power of the family was so huge that it was almost pervasive. Even now, Wang Xiaoyan was not sure if her father's men were following her, but she thought that there should be some. The second point, which was also the most important point, was it possible for Yang Ming to give up his current life and elope with her? The answer was obviously no. Yang Ming's parents and family were in Songjiang, and he also had his own career and studies. His other girlfriends were also from Songjiang. Yang Ming could not run away with her. Unless she killed Yang Ming's other girlfriends, but in this way, Yang Ming might also kill her. Even if he didn't kill her, she wouldn't be with him anymore. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan sighed slightly. Life was so strange. She actually had a good impression of a person that she hated so much, to the extent that she was somewhat attached to him. Furthermore, it only took less than a week. Wang Xiaoyan's heart couldn't help but be shocked. Had she fallen a little too deep? Someone's here. Yang Ming suddenly patted Wang Xiaoyan's perky butt and said softly. What? Wang Xiaoyan recovered from her thoughts. When she heard Yang Ming's words, her nerves became tense. Someone has snuck into the villa, Yang Ming said calmly. Let's go and meet her. The subtle sound made Yang Ming suddenly alert. He looked outside the villa with his special ability. He saw an exquisite black shadow crossing the wall outside the villa and sneaking in. At the moment, she was using tools to open the villa's door. Wang Xiaoyan's expression was tight. She knew Yang Ming's ability. Although she didn't know how Yang Ming found out that someone had broken into the villa, she didn't think it was wrong. The two quickly put on their pajamas. However, Wang Xiaoyan looked at her collar and hesitated. Will we be exposed if we go out like this? It's okay. It's a woman. Yang Ming shook his head. He took the lead to open the door and sneaked out. A woman? Wang Xiaoyan repeated Yang Ming's words to herself. She was horrified. Even Yang Ming could tell the gender of the intruder? Perhaps, my choice is right. Maybe God sympathizes with me and allows me to meet such a freak like Yang Ming. He is so powerful that he is not an ordinary person. However, Wang Xiaoyan was puzzled. Why didn't such a powerful person join any organization? Why is he a lone ranger? Why is a small assassin group like me taking advantage of him? Thinking about it, Wang Xiaoyan felt lucky. Yes, she was really lucky. She followed Yang Ming downstairs. Yang Ming could see things in the night, and Wang Xiaoyan was familiar with the environment at home, so the two could move freely without turning on the lights. Xiao Ai had undergone special training since she was a child. Her vision and hearing were extremely sensitive. Although Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were also professionally trained, it was impossible to walk without making a sound in the villa at night no matter how professional they were. It was just a slight sound, but it had already alerted Xiao Ai. After looking around, Xiao Ai flashed and hid behind the curtains in the living room. Because of her petite figure, there was no flaw after Xiao Ai hid behind the curtains. The curtains were still very flat. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan went downstairs. There was no one in the living room. The door was also closed by Xiao Ai again. Everything was so quiet, and there was no trace of outsiders entering. Wang Xiaoyan carefully examined it and found nothing wrong, but Yang Ming said firmly, "Come out. I don't want to make a move." Silence, the silence of the night, there was no trace of movement. Yang Ming sneered and walked straight in the direction of the curtains. Special abilities were not used for nothing. At critical moments, they were still very useful. However, before Yang Ming approached the curtains moved first. A black shadow rushed out from behind the curtains, holding a cold dagger in her hand and stabbing at Yang Ming. Yang Ming did not dare to neglect. Looking at this woman's posture, he knew that she had undergone strict training and was not an ordinary person. He quickly dodged to the side and avoided the woman in black's attack. The woman was very delicate, with a high nose and big eyes, but she seemed to be missing something, which made Yang Ming feel very awkward. Seeing that Yang Ming dodged, the woman in black was not surprised. She did not even have any strange expression as if she had seen something that had nothing to do with her. She just mechanically raised the dagger again and stabbed at Yang Ming. "Who are you? Who sent you?" When Yang Ming asked this, he concentrated on the woman in black. He hoped that he could find something, but the result made him very disappointed. The woman did not have any expression at all. After listening to his question, there was no fluctuation in her eyes. This made Yang Ming's plan to use his special ability to explore this woman's thoughts failed. However, Yang Ming's heart was more vigilant. In addition to stabbing himself with the dagger, the woman did not have any other actions. Even her eyes were numb, without a trace of emotional fluctuations. Although this woman's eyes were very bright and clear, they were lifeless. There was no expression. Death soldier. Yang Ming's heart was stunned, and he couldn't help but think of a word. Although he had never seen a real death soldier, Yang Ming still saw a similar introduction in the information. The so-called death soldier was equivalent to a death squad. Most of them were swordsmen in the underworld. For glory and wealth or to repay kindness, they worked for some aristocrats or behind-the-scenes bosses. They were basically engaged in two kinds of missions, assault and assassination. They were willing or forced to sacrifice their lives for these purposes. Usually, they would take poison before performing the mission. For example, they would smear poison between their teeth. If they failed, they would commit suicide to avoid being captured. On the other hand, a small number of men of sacrifice were secretly trained through professional training. This type of men of sacrifice were basically trained from a young child. They were brainwashed, and they were like walking corpses. They only had one thing to do every day, and that was to firmly obey the orders of their master. They had no thoughts, no opinions, and were completely like robots. This kind of death soldier was also the most difficult to deal with because they were not afraid of death. They were much more difficult to deal with than those who were repaying kindness or seeking glory. Thinking of this, Yang Ming no longer showed mercy. When the woman in black stabbed the dagger again, Yang Ming slammed the woman in black's elbow joint, and the dagger fell to the ground reflexively. Although Yang Ming was protective of the fairer sex, it also depended on the target. He naturally cared for the women around him, but for this kind of killing machine, if he was protective of her, it would be cruel to himself. Yang Ming grabbed the short hair of the woman in black and pulled it hard. The woman in black was pulled and almost fell to the ground. However, the woman's dagger fell, and she took out a second dagger from somewhere on her body. Although her hair was grabbed by Yang Ming, which made her very painful, the woman in black didn't even make a sound. She just snorted and once again slashed the dagger at Yang Ming's right arm that was grabbing her hair. Yang Ming had to let go of his hand, and his heart sank slightly. Perhaps my guess is not wrong. This is a death soldier who has undergone strict brainwashing training. Yang Ming felt more and more confused. I only have a few enemies. I can count them with my fingers. The Wang family is finished. The Ouyang family in Province P was killed by me. Wei Dikang was also blown up. Wei Jin also went abroad. Who is going to deal with me? Wait, I am now in Wang Xiaoyan's house. Is her target Wang Xiaoyan? What kind of force did Wang Xiaoyan provoke? Judging from the incident in Macau, Wang Xiaoyan may have really provoked some enemies, but the two people who attacked Wang Xiaoyan at that time were not on the same level as the woman in black this time. The two people in Macau could be regarded as assassins at best, but the woman I met today is a real death soldier. The behind-the-scenes boss who can train such a person is by no means an ordinary person. Wang Xiaoyan is just a small leader of the assassin group. How can she have a grudge with such a person? I will ask you again. Who sent you? Otherwise, I will not be polite. Don't think that I don't dare to do anything to you because you are a woman. Yang Ming sneered and said, I am best at Dragon Claw Hand and Jin Gang Kick. Chapter 1038. Wang Xiaoyan sweated profusely after hearing Yang Ming's words. Only Yang Ming could say such shameless words. But thinking about it carefully, it wasn't strange. When Yang Ming fought with her, he used this kind of wretched move. The woman didn't seem to hear it. She continued to stab Yang Ming with the dagger, as if she wouldn't stop until she achieved her goal. Yang Ming suddenly had a headache. To deal with such a person, he couldn't be persuaded by force or persuasion. Don't force me to make a move. The woman in black was still expressionless as she attacked Yang Ming. Yang Ming had no choice. He stretched out his hands and grabbed the woman in black's chest. He grabbed it firmly and squeezed it hard. However, the woman in black didn't seem to know. She didn't feel anything wrong. It was as if Yang Ming wasn't grabbing her chest, but other parts of her body, just like her hair. Are you going to say it? Yang Ming increased the strength of his hand. Well, it seems to feel good, but it's a pity. Okay, don't take advantage of the situation. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't stand it anymore. Isn't this Yang Ming a bit too shameless? Hee hee. Yang Ming laughed dryly and let go of his hand. He was really speechless. This woman. I shouldn't call her a woman. She's just a machine. Yang Ming tried his best to distract the woman in black. It would be best if she was in a trance and nervous state. Then, his ability would take advantage of the situation. But unfortunately, no matter what wretched moves he used, the woman was still unhurried and methodically dealt with it. Motherfucker. Yang Ming cursed and shouted, Vajra Vagina Kick. This was Yang Ming's best move, but it was the first time he used it on a woman. Yang Ming thought to himself, I'll kick your little sister until she explodes. Let's see if you'll still be so calm. With a pang sound, the woman in black's crotch was kicked by Yang Ming. The woman in black's face immediately flushed red. Naturally, it was not because she was shy, but because she was in so much pain that she wanted to die. The black-clothed woman's body also jumped along with Yang Ming's kick. One could imagine how powerful Yang Ming's kick was. Although the woman in black was a trained soldier of sacrifice and was no different from a robot, this did not mean that she could not feel pain like a robot. The reason was very simple. She was a human, a body of flesh and blood. Even if she had no thoughts, she could still feel. The black-clothed woman's face was ashen. She covered her crotch and squatted down. Bean-sized beads of sweat trickled down. She gritted her teeth and panted heavily. However, there was no trace of nervousness or hatred in her eyes. She was still so calm, like a lake without ripples. Yang Ming cursed in his heart. Motherfucker, I can't fix it. She was still so calm after I kicked her little sister. She's really a fucking piece of work. Although Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan's current relationship couldn't be any closer, Yang Ming didn't want her to know everything about him. For example, the secret technique that Fang Tian taught him, which wasn't taught to outsiders. But now it seemed that if this woman didn't feel some extraordinary pain, she wouldn't say anything useful. Wang Xiaoyan, who was behind Yang Ming, was secretly shocked. This Yang Ming is really fierce. Fortunately, he only used one move, breast-grabbing dragon claw, when he fought with me last time. If he used this move, Jean Gang's crotch kick, then wouldn't my little sister be kicked to pieces? Thinking about it, Wang Xiaoyan felt sweat on her forehead. This Yang Ming isn't just a little shameless. He's shameless to the extreme. Yang Ming looked at the woman in black and smiled faintly. He didn't want to say anything more. He could only take action. Otherwise, he wouldn't get any secrets from this woman in black. He gently tapped a few acupoints on her body, but this was done with his back to Wang Xiaoyan. His body just blocked Wang Xiaoyan's line of sight. Moreover, even if Wang Xiaoyan found out, Yang Ming also thought of an excuse, which was that he used poison. The woman in black reacted and writhed on the ground like a water snake. However, one could imagine the pain she was in just by looking at her expression. Unfortunately, although she looked like she was in pain, her eyes were still blank. Moreover, she didn't open her mouth to beg for mercy. She didn't even say a word. Yang Ming sighed slightly. This was the first time he had met such an opponent. His abilities were ineffective, and his acupoints were also ineffective. He was like a robot, making him helpless. What's going on? Seeing the woman in black struggling on the ground, Wang Xiaoyan also saw some clues and asked Yang Ming. This person is a trained death warrior. He doesn't have his own thoughts or opinions. He only obeys his master's orders. Yang Ming shook his head. It seems that it's almost impossible to find any clues from her. Yang Ming reached out and unsealed the woman in black's acupoints. Then, he said, "You can go now." The reason why Yang Ming let her go was because he wanted to use his ability to follow her and see where she would go. However, he didn't expect that the moment Yang Ming unsealed the woman in black's acupoints, the woman in black suddenly hit her head against the floor. With a loud bang, the woman in black's brain burst open and she died. Yang Ming secretly cursed his bad luck. What is this? Fortunately, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were both assassins. They didn't have so many taboos about the dead. If it were another girl, they probably wouldn't dare to return to this house. Wang Xiaoyan was a little shocked. She had never encountered such a scene. Today, not only did she see the legendary death warrior, but this death warrior also committed suicide in front of her. Yang Ming. Who is this person? How did she come here? Although Wang Xiaoyan was an assassin, she instinctively wanted to find someone to rely on when encountering these unknown things. I don't know who she is now. Yang Ming said helplessly. She didn't say a word from beginning to end. I don't even know if she came for you or me. But one thing is certain. The person behind her is definitely not simple. Wang Xiaoyan nodded slightly. Indeed, Yang Ming was right. Just now, she was worried and confused. Now that she thought about it, from Yang Ming's fight with this woman in black to her suicide, the woman in black did not say a word. Forget it. Don't think about her. Let's see if there is anything on her that can prove her identity. Yang Ming said as he squatted down and carefully searched the woman in black. Unfortunately, only a dagger was found on her body. It seemed that she carried 3 daggers with her. Other than that, there was nothing else. In the end, Yang Ming's gaze fell on the small bag behind the woman in black. He picked it up and glanced at the things inside with his special ability. At first glance, Yang Ming was shocked. This bag actually contained a detonator. What's wrong? Seeing that Yang Ming's expression was stagnant, Wang Xiaoyan asked, baffled. Yang Ming opened the small bag and pointed to the things inside. We almost died together. Detonator? Wang Xiaoyan naturally recognized the things in the bag. Her face suddenly changed. You mean, she wanted to put the detonator to kill us? Probably so. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. It seems that the 2 of us escaped a disaster. Wang Xiaoyan was a little silent. The person who came today was definitely not an ordinary person. At least, her family's heavyweight opponent would train such a death warrior. Yang Ming collected the body of the woman in black and sprinkled a little corpse disintegration powder that Fang Tian gave him. The body of the woman in black instantly turned into a puff of blue smoke and disappeared. Corpse disintegration powder? Wang Xiaoyan asked with some surprise. Yang Ming nodded. Wang Xiaoyan also knew that there were some very strange powders in the underworld, so she didn't find it strange. Since Yang Ming didn't want to say more, she didn't ask more. Do you have any enemies? Yang Ming pondered for a while and asked. Wang Xiaoyan shook her head. She had been thinking about this question since the beginning, but she didn't think of any answer. It was still possible to say that my family had offended someone, but however, my identity was confidential. Almost no one knew about it. Only a few people close to my family knew about it. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't figure it out. What is the identity of this woman in black? If you can't figure it out, then don't think about it. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. I'll kill whoever comes. I don't believe that this death warrior training is like a production line. There are as many as you want. Yang Ming said with an indifferent smile in order to make Wang Xiaoyan feel relieved. Although Yang Ming didn't know how this death warrior was trained, he thought that there wouldn't be many of them. If there were more, he wouldn't be able to handle it if they just sent a team. Indeed, Yang Ming's guess was right. The death warrior training was quite complicated and difficult. The boss adopted 10 orphans, but only 3 passed the training in the end. One of them was Xiao Ai, and the other was Xiao Zi, who was also the boss's bed. The other was a boy named Xiao La. The other 7 people either couldn't withstand the pressure of the training and died, or they had their own thoughts and betrayed him. The boss had to kill them personally. In the van, the boss and the young man were waiting for the news of Xiao Ai, but they didn't see Xiao Ai come back for a long time. The boss's expression began to become nervous. Perhaps, Xiao Ai failed. These 3 people were his trump cards, and he didn't want to use them easily. If the young man's suggestion wasn't so tempting, the boss wouldn't let Xiao Ai act personally. An hour later, the boss sighed sadly. Xiao Ai won't take so long to come back, failed? The young man didn't have any sympathy for Xiao Ai. In his eyes, Xiao Ai was a machine, a tool to perform tasks. It should be like this. The boss nodded regretfully and said, let's go back. It seems that Yang Ming is not so easy to kill. Chapter 1039. What if you are not here in the future? Back in the room, Wang Xiaoyan asked with lingering fear. She didn't know whether she wanted Yang Ming to accompany her here, or she was really afraid that someone would come here and set off a bomb. Install a security system. Yang Ming said, I will find someone to customize a set, but I think that with one failure, the person behind the scenes will not use the same method a second time. Yang Ming's words made some sense. Wang Xiaoyan nodded. No one would be stupid enough to use a second method after it failed. Well, I can feel more at ease this way. Wang Xiaoyan knew that the so-called security system was only for those who were not professionals. However, since Yang Ming said that he would find someone to customize it, it should not be bad. At least it could cope with people like just now. Otherwise, Yang Ming would not propose to install it. Go to sleep. It's very late. I don't think they will send anyone over today. Yang Ming hugged Wang Xiaoyan in his arms and comforted her. Right, Yang Ming, you were really ruthless just now. What Jean Gang's crotch kick, you can even use it. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly remembered what happened before and complained. If I wasn't ruthless, she would have killed me. Yang Ming knew that sometimes he had to learn to be ruthless, otherwise, he would be ruthless by others. Then why didn't you use this trick when you fought with me? Wang Xiaoyan asked with some blame. Of course, it's different. Yang Ming smiled and said, you said that if you lose, you will be my lover. If I break you, won't I be the one who suffers? After listening to Yang Ming's naked and almost provocative words, Wang Xiaoyan suddenly blushed. You are still afraid of breaking me. The annual jewelry festival was about to be held in Songjiang. This was a jewelry exhibition held by the China Jewelry Association. The venue this year was Songjiang. Logically, Songjiang was a second-tier city. Generally, such an exhibition would not be held in such a city, but this time it was an exception. He didn't know why the association chose to hold it here. Lin Jiyun wasn't in Songjiang. It was Zhao Sisi who called and told him that. Although Lu Weishan Jewelry was a brand newly established this year, it had Lu Weishan's signboard and the endorsement of Shuya, an idol singer who was popular in Asia. Moreover, it had recently launched a DIY wedding ring service. Therefore, Lu Weishan Jewelry Company couldn't be more popular. The invitation was naturally sent over. It took a lot of effort to hold the jewelry festival in Songjiang this time. The boss said indifferently, that vice president is really black-hearted. He took 10 million from me alone. I hope that this time, I can see Yang Ming's plight of poverty. The boss sneered. You're right. To deal with Yang Ming, you don't have to kill him immediately. It's more effective to make him lose everything than to kill him. Is the next thing arranged? Asked the young man. Don't worry. There will definitely be no mistakes. The boss said, the China Jewelry Association has sent a letter to the Mingyang Security Company. They will be responsible for the security work of this jewelry festival. I will take out the jewelry that I have been keeping for a long time. When the time comes and I lose everything, let's see if Yang Ming doesn't lose everything. Xiao Ai was missing, which made the boss a little crazy. He didn't see Xiao Ai come back until the next day. The boss knew that Xiao Ai couldn't come back. With Yang Ming's means, Xiao Ai might have been killed. In addition to the heartache, the boss hated Yang Ming even more. He couldn't bear this, so he anxiously discussed with the young man overnight and finally agreed on such a countermeasure. It just so happened that the annual jewelry festival was about to be held. The boss didn't feel anything, but the young man seized the opportunity. That was to let the organizer hold the jewelry festival in Songjiang, and then the Mingyang Security Company would take over the security work of the jewelry festival. In this way, once there was a change in the jewelry festival, then the Mingyang Security Company would have an unavoidable responsibility. It just so happened that the boss had a lot of rare jewelry collection in the world, which could be used in this plan. Those were all priceless jewelry. Once it was lost, even if Yang Ming was the richest man in the world, it was enough for him to suffer. Therefore, the boss mobilized all the connections around him and contacted a vice president of the China Jewelry Association. This association was a non-governmental organization, so the vice president was more bold. He directly asked for 10 million yuan and promised the boss that he would definitely settle the matter. As a result, it really didn't disappoint the boss. In the afternoon, the China Jewelry Association temporarily changed the venue from the previous city V to the current Songjiang city. On the exhibitor list, there was also a fake company registered overseas, which was the boss's company. It also exhibited several world-class jewelry. When Bao Sanli's security company received the commission letter from the China Jewelry Association, he was a little surprised. This was the largest business the security company had received since its establishment. Of course, it wasn't because the price was the highest, but because the scale and impact were the largest. In the past, the Mingyang Security Company mostly accepted the security business of shopping malls, companies, community properties, and individuals. Although the money received was a lot, the influence was not good. The Mingyang Security Company was only relatively famous in the local area, but it was not well known in other places. However, once the security work of this jewelry festival was taken over, the reputation of the Mingyang Security Company would be improved by a level. After all, this was a large-scale exhibition event. To be able to provide security services for this kind of event was equivalent to the Mingyang Security Company being recognized by the public and becoming a professional-level security company. After receiving the commission letter, Bao Sanli didn't make the decision. Instead, he called Yang Ming and told the whole thing. "Brother Yang, do you think we should accept this business?" Yang Ming learned about the jewelry festival from Zhao Sisi. He didn't expect that the Jewelry Association would choose the Mingyang Security Company to be responsible for the security work of the jewelry festival. However, it was not surprising when he thought about it. In Songjiang, the largest security company was the Mingyang Security Company. Other small security companies were not successful, and they only provided some private security work and some simple security work for shopping malls, parking lots, and so on. To say that the company that could be on the stage and had the strength, only the Mingyang Security Company was left. The jewelry festival was held in Songjiang. It was impossible to hire a security company from thousands of miles away, so it was reasonable to choose the Mingyang Security Company. As long as the price is reasonable, you can make the decision. Yang Ming didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it, so he said, "However, you must make the Mingyang famous." "Don't worry, Brother Yang. I will work hard." Bao Sanli saw that Yang Ming agreed, so he promised. There was still some time before the opening of the jewelry festival. Now it was just a preparation period, so whether it was the jewelry company or the security company, they did not feel that they were in a hurry. Instead, they did things step by step. In the blink of an eye, the holiday was coming to an end. Tomorrow was the start of the new semester. During the holiday, many things happened. The original classmate Wang Jitao sank to the bottom of the sea forever, and Zhou Jiejia fully recovered. Wei Dikang died, Wei Jin sold the company, and Zhou Ruoguang was killed. The Sui family was also in a panic. There were joys and sorrows. The only thing that made Yang Ming feel a little lost was that since he kissed Zhao Ying that night, Zhao Ying had never contacted him again, which made Yang Ming slightly disappointed. Fortunately, Jing Xiaolu called and asked Yang Ming to go shopping. Yang Ming could also ask her about his problem with Zhao Ying. Yang Ming wanted to go online to find Zhao Ying, but he helplessly found that the avatar of wild female teacher was always gray. It was no wonder that Zhao Ying had just moved here. She had not applied for broadband, so it was normal that she could not go online. The day before the start of school, Yang Ming's fifth cousin came to Songjiang and called Yang Ming's home at the station. It was a distant relative. Yang Ming was not enthusiastic about it, but Mother Yang was very enthusiastic. She called a car and rushed to the station with Yang Ming. Yang Ming's car had not been repaired yet, so Mother Yang simply found a van in Mingyang Heavy Industry. She originally wanted to find a car, but she thought that fifth cousin should have luggage in his hands. She was afraid that the car could not fit, so she found a van. The car stopped at the Songjiang railway station. Fifth cousin didn't come by fifth uncle's car, but he came by train by himself. However, he probably didn't want to come with fifth uncle, and he would feel that fifth uncle was dragging his feet on the road. Yang Ming was very helpless as he held a Yuqi sign and waited at the entrance of the railway station. Bath? Shark's fin? Fish pond? I don't know who came up with this name, but it is full of creativity. At this time, a well-dressed young man wearing a mink fur and sunglasses came over with a pair of shiny leather boots. He saw the sign in Yang Ming's hand and greeted, "I say, buddy, are you my second aunt's son, Yang Daming?" "I'm not Yang Daming. I'm Yang Ming." Yang Ming sweated a bit. "Sure enough, as the legend said, my fifth cousin looks very sociable." "Oh, it's the same. I heard from my old man that your name is Daming. I thought you were called Yang Daming." Fifth cousin said indifferently. He turned his head and saw Mother Yang, so he raised a hand and greeted, "Is this my second aunt?" "Second aunt, hello." Chapter 1040. Hello. Mother Yang didn't expect that Yuchi from fifth uncle's mouth would be so sloppy. "I say, old cousin, this big city is really different. The girls are so fashionable. It's much better than our home." Yuchi patted Yang Ming's shoulder and said casually. He didn't seem to mind that Mother Yang was on the side. "Look at the girl in front. She's really coquettish. It's winter and she's wearing a leather skirt. TSK, fifth cousin, let's get in the car. It's cold outside." Yang Ming's face was very thick, but in front of his mother, he couldn't associate with fifth cousin. Moreover, this fifth cousin was really vulgar, which made Yang Ming somewhat uncomfortable. Get in the car, get in the car." "Where is the car?" Yuchi carried a leather box and looked around. "It's here." Yang Ming pointed to the van not far away. "Damn, I say, old cousin, are you serious? You drive this car at home?" Yuchi saw the van and looked incredulous. "My father drives an Audi A6, and you are sitting in this broken van?" Yang Ming saw that his mother's face wasn't very good, so he coughed twice and said to Yuchi, "Fifth cousin, my mother is afraid that you have a lot of things and can't fit in the car, so she specially drove a van." "Oh, is that so? I'm sorry, it's a dog race," Yuchi said. "What?" Yang Ming was stunned. "What dog race?" "Japanese, it means sorry. Isn't it said in AV?" Yuchi's voice was sharp as he imitated the voice of the female lead in the movie. "Gomenasai." Yang Ming was disgusted. This fifth cousin is really a character. Letting this kind of person come to the city to experience, isn't it just making things difficult for me? Fortunately, I managed to get him into Ho Jinhan's entertainment company. Otherwise, if he was in my father's company, my father would probably be pissed off. "Well, fifth cousin, let's not talk about this. Let's get in the car first. I'll take you to familiarize yourself with the company you work for." Yang Ming didn't want to be with this fifth cousin for a moment. He had nothing in common with this kind of person. Mother Yang originally wanted to chat with Yuchi to familiarize herself with him, but after hearing his shocking words, she changed her mind. "I say, old cousin, which company did you arrange for me to work in? Tell me, are there any pretty girls in there?" After getting in the car, Yuchi was still talking non-stop. "The company I arranged for you is a friend's company. Fifth cousin, you'd better work hard when you go there. Otherwise, don't go." Yang Ming felt that it was necessary to make things clear in advance. "Hey, I know." Fifth cousin waved his hand. "I understand. I'm your cousin. After I go there, I'm a relative of the royal family. You know that I'm just here to deal with my father. I don't really want to work." "Fifth cousin, I'm serious about what I said to you. After you go there, you have to be good. Don't be so sloppy. Moreover, the company is not my father's, but a friend's." Yang Ming interrupted fifth cousin's words and said very seriously. "Okay, I understand." Although Yuchi said so, he disagreed in his heart. "Right, old cousin, what is the company you arranged for me to do? Fifth cousin, you can call me cousin or Yang Ming in the future. It doesn't matter if it's Yang Daming, but don't say that old cousin. Why do I feel so awkward when I hear it?" Yang Ming was not used to the title of old cousin. It sounded weird. The company you are going to work for is an entertainment company. Before Yang Ming finished his words, Yu Qi immediately interrupted after listening. Entertainment company? An entertainment company is good. Is it like the entertainment companies in Hong Kong? Do they have many little stars? Ha, this is great. I can play with stars. There were 3 black lines on Yang Ming's forehead. He stopped Yu Qi from continuing. Fifth cousin, you misunderstood. An entertainment company doesn't mean that kind of entertainment company. It operates some nightclubs, hotels, and other entertainment venues. Oh. Yu Qi was slightly disappointed after hearing it, but he said, there must be a lot of sisters in the company, right? I don't know about this. Yang Ming said perfunctorily. Ha, I know. Old cousin, brother, are you afraid that second aunt will hear it? Yu Qi put his hand on Yang Ming's shoulder and whispered, when we have time, brother will teach you the secret of sisters. No need. Yang Ming didn't want to have too much to do with Yu Qi. The first impression that this fifth cousin gave him was too bad, and the whole person had an indescribable ruffian aura. Although Yang Ming also mingled in the underworld, he was different from Yu Qi. Yang Ming had the kind of cynical aura, but Yu Qi had the kind of wretched style of a second generation. Yang Ming brought Yu Qi to Ming Yang Entertainment and handed him directly to Ho Junhan. After a few words, they left the company. Yang Ming really didn't want to have any more contact with Yu Qi. Although Yang Ming and Ho Junhan didn't say many words, Yu Qi still heard Ho Junhan call him Brother Yang. Originally, he was thinking about whether to pretend in the company for a few days, but at this moment, he gave up this idea. The company's manager calls his cousin brother. Shouldn't he call me big cousin brother? Mom, the job that fifth uncle found for you is really not good. On the way back, Yang Ming finally couldn't help but complain. If it's like this, if I go to Dad's company, won't I be laughed at by my colleagues? Mother Yang's expression wasn't very good. She didn't know that Yu Qi would be like this. Big Ming, forget it. Fifth uncle isn't easy. He already told us about Yu Qi's character, so there's nothing strange about it. I hope he can learn well. Hope. Yang Ming shook his head. It seemed unlikely. Yang Ming didn't want him to learn well. Yang Ming hoped that he would struggle in the company for 2 days and then quickly get out. Yang Ming didn't have time to serve this kind of person. The Hawkeye Group's butler knocked on Ouyang Junyuan's office door. Come in. Ouyang Junyuan was annoyed. The company's affairs were not what he was good at. What he was good at was eating, drinking, and having fun. Letting him do business? It was simply nonsense. However, his elder brother was dead, and this heavy burden fell on him, so he had to sit in the company every day. Although there were professional managers, Ouyang Junyuan also knew that if these people didn't supervise them, who knew what they would do to the company? All of this was thanks to Yang Ming. Every time he thought of this name, Ouyang Junyuan hated him to the bone. He couldn't wait to kill him, but Ouyang Junyuan also calmed down a lot. He was no longer as reckless as before. Since his father and Delay Man 001 were not Yang Ming's opponents, it was simply a fool's dream to kill Yang Ming with his current strength. If he looked for Yang Ming for revenge, it would be better to look for Yang Ming to die, so Ouyang Junyuan would never do such a stupid thing. Ouyang Junyuan thought that it was the professional managers who brought the documents to ask him to sign, but when he looked up, he saw the Hawkeye Group's butler. He was stunned and immediately said, "Old butler, why are you here?" The Hawkeye Group's butler closed the office door and then locked it from the inside. He walked to Ouyang Junyuan and said, "Second young master, a friend of mine in the assassin world said that he can contact the world's top assassin group, the Butterfly Assassin Group." Butterfly Assassin Group? After Ouyang Junyuan heard it, he was excited and asked, "Is it the Butterfly Assassin Group that is second only to the King of Assassins, but the overall strength is the first?" "Yes, it's them." The Hawkeye Group's butler nodded. "My friend is an assassin intermediary. He has some connections with the world's major assassin groups. This time, it seems that I have found the right person. Good. Ouyang Junyuan nodded and said, then ask him to help contact the butterfly assassin group. This time, I want to see if Yang Ming will die or not. But. Second young master, this person is an intermediary. He may charge a lot of intermediary fees, said the Hawkeye Group's butler. Intermediary fee? Give him as much as he wants, as long as he can find me a really powerful assassin. Ouyang Junyuan said indifferently, if you want money, I have it. The key is whether you can kill Yang Ming. Okay, I understand. I will contact him now. The Hawkeye Group's butler nodded and said, contact him now. Immediately. Old butler, I can't wait. When I think about Yang Ming being finished, I feel happy in my heart. Ouyang Junyuan seemed to be relieved from the stuffiness in his chest. He suddenly felt lighter. Right, don't forget. Kill the woman around Yang Ming too. And, you must kill her. The old butler took out his mobile phone and started to contact his friend who was an assassin intermediary. Mr. Smith? It's me, the Hawkeye Group's number 2. Yes, it's the mission I told you about last time. The old butler conveyed Ouyang Junyuan's message to Mr. Smith. Of course, Mr. Smith's real name was definitely not Smith. This was just a code name. In the assassin business, few people use their real names. Smith said something over there, and the old butler hung up the phone with satisfaction. How is it? Ouyang Junyuan asked impatiently. There should be no problem. The old butler of the Hawkeye Assassin Group said, Mr. Smith said that this is a very common mission, and Yang Ming is not a celebrity in the political and business world. There is no difficulty. The Butterfly Assassin Group should not refuse. Now we just wait for the news. After Ouyang Junyuan listened, his face showed a happy smile. In his opinion, Yang Ming was already a dead man. Can the world's first assassin group not deal with Yang Ming? Obviously, it is impossible. Chapter 1041. Half an hour later, Smith's call came back. The old butler quickly picked up the phone. Hello, Mr. Smith. The Butterfly Assassin Group has accepted your mission. You send the details of the target to my mailbox. The commission for the mission is $2 million. I will charge $200,000 as an intermediary fee. Smith said, the original commission is $1.5 million, but you added one more person. Although it is just a woman, the commission has to be increased accordingly. Okay, I understand. The old butler was relieved after hearing the price. This price was acceptable to them. Is there any problem? Asked Smith. No, I will send the information to your email in a while. The commission and intermediary fee will be remitted to your account, said the old butler. Okay, I look forward to working with you, said Smith. The old butler hung up the phone and told Ouyang Junyuan what Smith meant. Ouyang Junyuan nodded after listening. The price is really not expensive. My dad should have hired someone to kill Yang Ming. Why do it himself? The old butler couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. Who could have expected that Yang Ming was so powerful? Even Delay Man 001 was not his opponent. Ouyang Junyuan didn't say anything more. After all, it was too late to say anything now. Only by killing Yang Ming could he relieve the hatred in his heart. He asked the old butler to withdraw the money from the finance department and remit it to Smith. Then, he began to wait quietly for the news. Today was the day when Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun came back. These days, Chen Mengyan lived in her own home. Yang Ming simply hung out in Wang Xiaoyan's boudoir. The two cultivated the tacit understanding of cooperation and were never tired of it. The boss behind the woman in black didn't seem to have any more changes. Yang Ming's security system was installed, but no one else entered Wang Xiaoyan's house except for him. I'm leaving. Be careful. In the morning, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan finished breakfast together. Yang Ming said with some reluctance. It was impossible to say that he had no feelings for Wang Xiaoyan. Yang Ming was also more and more curious about her family, but Wang Xiaoyan didn't want to talk about it. Yang Ming didn't ask more. Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming also had the same mood. They didn't know why, but their hearts were sour. Yang Ming's two girlfriends came back, so Yang Ming would have less time to accompany her in the future. Yang Ming knew that he would be sad at this moment. To ease the atmosphere, he joked, "Come, let's hug. It is a goodbye hug. Go to hell. You want to take advantage of me again." Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but laugh. "Okay, but after you leave, don't forget about the assassin group. Don't worry. Half of the assassin group is also mine." Yang Ming nodded and said. After coming out of Wang Xiaoyan's villa, Yang Ming drove to the highway. Although President Hua would definitely send a car to send him, Yang Ming couldn't wait to greet them. Zhou Jiejia had been very confused these days. She was confused about what happened to her a while ago. She had the habit of keeping a diary. She used to write in the diary, but later, she changed to writing on the computer. In Yang Ming's villa, although the facilities in her room were copied from her own home in Donghai, everything was newly bought, including the computer. So, even if Zhou Jiejia wanted to check the diary she wrote during this time, she couldn't do it. When she returned home, Zhou Jiejia couldn't wait to open her diary from a while ago and read it. But the more she read, the more puzzled Zhou Jiejia was. The things recorded in the diary didn't have any deviation or discrepancy with what happened in my memory. My mother asked me to be on good terms with Wang Jitao. I sneaked into Wang Jitao's home to collect evidence. Until I blocked the bullet for Yang Ming, the contents of the diary were completely consistent with my memory. In other words, I shouldn't have been Yang Ming's girlfriend before, and I shouldn't have experienced such a ridiculous thing as transmigration. Then, why did Yang Ming say that I was his girlfriend before? Although when I was injured, Yang Ming promised me that he would accept me, that was also a different concept from being his girlfriend before. Moreover, even Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun said so. Could it be that all three of them transmigrated? This idea was too crazy. It was almost impossible. Today was the day to return to Songjiang. In these 2 days, Zhou Jiejia thought about a lot of things in the past, but there were still no similarities. So, on the way back to Songjiang, she finally couldn't help but say to Lin Jiyun, "Sister Lin, I have something to ask you. You won't lie to me, right?" What's the matter?" Lin Jiyun was stunned and looked at Zhou Jiejia in confusion. She didn't understand what Zhou Jiejia wanted to ask her. She was so mysterious. "You tell me first. Will you lie to me?" Zhou Jiejia didn't say anything but asked. Because from the contact with Lin Jiyun in these 2 days, she also saw what kind of person Lin Jiyun was. This was a girl who wasn't good at lying. "Of course not. Sister Jiejia, what do you want to ask me?" Lin Jiyun shook her head and asked. "Sister Lin, you said that before I was hospitalized, I was Yang Ming's girlfriend, right?" Zhou Jiejia raised her head and looked into Lin Jiyun's eyes. Lin Jiyun was a little flustered by Zhou Jiejia's stare. She turned her head and felt a little uneasy. However, this was what she had agreed with Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan, so she had to bite the bullet and nodded. "Yes. What's wrong? Is this really the case?" Seeing Lin Jiyun's flustered expression, Zhou Jiejia smiled in her heart. She really is a little girl who can't hide her secrets. My guess should be close to the truth. Yeah. Lin Jiyun didn't dare to look directly into Zhou Jiejia's eyes. Indeed, as Zhou Jiejia thought, she wasn't good at lying. Especially when her lie was exposed in front of others. At this moment, Zhou Jiejia was very sure. She smiled slightly and said, "Sister Lin, lying is not a good child, Lin Jiyun was so anxious that her face turned red. Although she also felt that she shouldn't lie to Zhou Jiejie, after all, she had promised Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan. For a while, she was in a dilemma. Actually, I wasn't Yang Ming's girlfriend before. I just had a one-sided love for him. Is that so? Zhou Jiejie suddenly asked. Ah. Lin Jiyun was shocked. Her face suddenly showed a surprised expression. Sister Jiejie, you remembered it? It doesn't matter if I remember it or not. The important thing is that I have the habit of keeping a diary since I was a child. When I went home for 2 days, I read the diary I wrote before. I found that what happened in the diary was very different from what you all told me. Zhou Jiejie didn't directly say whether she had recovered her memory, but she used the diary as an excuse. So it's like this. Lin Jiyun sighed and said, Sister Jiejie, since you know it, then I won't lie to you. It is indeed what you said, but why? Zhou Jiejie knew the truth of the matter, but she had some doubts. Yang Ming, didn't he not like me? How could that be? Yang Ming likes you very much. Lin Jiyun listened to Zhou Jiejie's words and said quickly. Sister Lin, I'm not a fool. Before, I could feel Yang Ming's attitude toward me. Zhou Jiejie shook her head and sighed. But, since the discharge, Yang Ming seems to be a different person. You and Chen Mengyan, your attitude toward me is also very good. This makes me feel very unreal. Sister Jiejie, in that situation, you can give up your life to save Yang Ming. Sister Chen Mengyan and I are very grateful to you. We really regard you as our sister, so we should be good to you. Lin Jiyun blushed and explained, as for Yang Ming, we don't know what he is thinking. However, he is very lecherous. He likes beautiful girls, he likes all of them. Zhou Jiejie secretly laughed. Wasn't I beautiful before? Why didn't I see Yang Ming like me? However, Lin Jiyun's explanation was reasonable. As for Yang Ming, perhaps when I was about to die, he gave me a promise, so, does he like me or not? Zhou Jiejie was a little confused. Now, isn't this kind of life what I have always been looking forward to? When I used to dream, I dreamed of being with Yang Ming one day. However, when I really had such a life, I began to let my imagination run wild. People's desires are really endless. Once you have it, you want to have more. Originally, Zhou Jiejie didn't think about how much Yang Ming would love her after being with Yang Ming. But now that they were together, she began to care. However, since she had this conversation with Lin Jiyun, it was impossible for her to pretend to have amnesia. It was also time to have a showdown with Yang Ming. Zhou Jiejie suddenly had a sense of loss. She suddenly didn't want this kind of life. This kind of compensatory love made her feel very uncomfortable. She didn't want Yang Ming to just be apologetic and sympathetic to her. At this moment, Zhou Jiejie's mood was contradictory. Perhaps, after explaining things to Yang Ming, the relationship between the two people would be restored to its previous state, the kind of good friend relationship. However, if I continue to pretend to be a fool, it isn't the result I want. Forget it. I don't want to think so much. Let nature take its course. Chapter 1042. At the exit of the highway, Yang Ming finally saw Zhou Jiejie's family car. He quickly got out of the car and greeted them. Yang Ming is there. Lin Jiyun saw Yang Ming from afar. She excitedly pulled Zhou Jiejie's hand and said. She hadn't seen Yang Ming for a few days, and she missed him very much. Although she was sometimes busy with the company's affairs, and she didn't see Yang Ming for a few days, both of them were in Songjiang, so she didn't feel anything. In these 2 days, the two of them were in different places, but their moods were different. Zhou Jiejie naturally saw Yang Ming, but her mood was very complicated now. She had the impulse to tell Yang Ming everything, but she was afraid that she would lose her current life. Living with Yang Ming every day, going to school together, and going to school together. Wasn't this the life she was looking forward to? She used to be very envious of Suya. Now that she had it, she wanted to have more. Sister Jejia? What's wrong with you? Lin Jiyun was excited, but she also found that Zhou Jejia's mood didn't seem to be high, so she asked quickly. Nothing. Zhou Jejia shook her head and smiled. Let's go. Let's get out of the car. The two of them got out of the car hand in hand. Yang Ming also greeted them. Little Yun, did you miss me? Lin Jiyun suddenly blushed. Yang Ming's address to her was getting more and more embarrassing. However, Lin Jiyun still whispered, N. Then, let's hug. Yang Ming opened his arms and hugged Lin Jiyun in his arms before she could react. Lin Jiyun wanted to break away, but Yang Ming had already let go of her. After all, there were more people here. Yang Ming didn't want to become the object of others' ridicule. Dear Jejia, how about you? Did you miss me? Yang Ming turned his head and continued to ask Zhou Jejia. Originally, Zhou Jejia was still a little disappointed. Yang Ming came up and flirted with Lin Jiyun, leaving her aside. Zhou Jejia was somewhat envious, but she couldn't help it. She sighed in her heart. Sure enough, Yang Ming still treats me differently from others. But she didn't expect that Yang Ming turned his head and began to ask her. Zhou Jejia's heart was suddenly happy. Her eyebrows were full of excitement. She raised her head up and nodded excitedly. Come on. Let's hug too. Yang Ming smiled and said, I am a person who always favors one over another. Zhou Jejia hesitated. Although she had decided to lay her cards on the table with Yang Ming, she still let Yang Ming hug her. In other words, she took the initiative to throw herself into Yang Ming's arms. She was very infatuated with this feeling. Yang Ming's embrace made her feel at ease. It gave her a sense of belonging that she had never had before. I don't know if it will still belong to me in the future. Yang Ming changed the luggage of the two people to his car. The BMW that was damaged by little girl Wang had been repaired. There was no trace of repair, but the cost was also very high. After greeting President Hua's driver, Yang Ming told him to go back directly. Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun got into his car together. When they left, they basically didn't bring any luggage. When they came back, they didn't bring anything. Zhou Jejia had a laptop, and Lin Jiyun had some business information. 2 briefcases could fit them. However, when they got in the car, Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jejia pushed each other for a while. Lin Jiyun was embarrassed to sit in the front passenger seat. Zhou Jejia was even more embarrassed. According to the current situation, her relationship with Yang Ming was the weakest. She shouldn't sit in the front passenger seat. Both of them finally sat in the back. Yang Ming couldn't help it. He smiled bitterly and followed them. You haven't eaten yet, right? After getting in the car, Yang Ming asked. I ate in the morning. Lin Jiyun replied. I said at noon. It's almost 1:00 now. Yang Ming pointed to the electronic clock in the car. Not at noon. Lin Jiyun shook her head. Yang Ming suddenly felt a little funny. Every time Lin Jiyun answered him, she was so gentle. If it were Chen Mengyan, she would definitely say, I ate in the morning. Now I'm starving, what do you want to eat? Let's find a place to eat first. Yang Ming also ate at Wang Xiaoyan's place in the morning. He didn't eat at noon. What do you want to eat? Let's eat hot pot. When we were on the road, Sister Jejia said that she wanted to eat hot pot. Lin Jiyun suggested. Sister Lin, you can eat whatever you want. Don't worry about me. Zhou Jejia was a little moved. In her original idea, Yang Ming's women should be fighting openly and secretly. But now it seemed that this wasn't the case. Whether it was Chen Mengyan or Lin Jiyun, they were very considerate of other people's thoughts and emotions. They wouldn't let others feel neglected. I'm fine with anything. Lin Jiyun smiled and said, and, I also want to eat hot pot. I heard from Zhao Sisi that there is a strange hot pot near the school. The taste is good. I want to try it. Then let's go eat hot pot. Yang Ming nodded. It's just close to home. After eating hot pot, we will go home and tidy up. School will start tomorrow. The strange hot pot was probably a chain catering company, but it was the first one in Songjiang. It mainly focused on Chinese herbs, but because of the spiciness, it attracted a lot of diners. Fortunately, it was almost 2:00 in the afternoon when Yang Ming and the others arrived. It was already past lunchtime. Otherwise, it was estimated that it would be like the Sichuan restaurant. There wouldn't even be a seat. Spicy restaurants were especially popular in cold cities like the north. Once winter came, almost every restaurant was filled with people. After parking the car in the parking lot, just as he got off with Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejia, Yang Ming was stunned. A bright red Audi R8 drove into the parking lot of the restaurant and stopped in the empty space next to him. The sweat on Yang Ming's forehead suddenly came out. Isn't this the car of the little fox, Sun Jie? Why did she come here? Sure enough, seeing the automatic door of the Audi R8 slowly open, Sun Jie jumped down from the driver's seat. She was as sexy as usual. In the passenger's seat, there was also a beautiful young woman in her 30s. She was dignified and generous. Who else could it be but Xiao Qing? How did these two people end up together? Could it be that after having a threesome with me, they are playing Yuri Love again? Hee, Yang Ming thought lasciviously, but then he remembered that now wasn't the time to let his imagination run wild. Xiao Qing was fine, but it was hard to say about Sun Jie, this coquettish fox. If she said something inappropriate in front of Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejia, the two innocent girls would report it to Chen Mengyan. Wouldn't my home immediately become the battlefield of a world war? Sister Xiao Qing, Sister Sun Jie, how are you? What a coincidence. Yang Ming decided to make the first move and took the initiative to say hello. Then, he desperately winked at Sun Jie and Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing naturally saw the two girls behind Yang Ming and sighed slightly. Every girl around Yang Ming was so outstanding. However, she wasn't like Sun Jie. She was Yang Ming's god-sister. She didn't want to fight for anything, and she didn't have any other thoughts. So, she nodded to Yang Ming with a normal expression. Yang Ming, school starts tomorrow, right? When do you have time to go to Godfather's place? At night, I will go to you at night. Let's go together. Yang Ming thought about what was going to happen at night, and he was a little excited. However, he suddenly saw Sun Jie on the side looking at him with a smile. He was shocked. How could I forget about her? My head hurts, Yang Ming, what happened to your eyes? Is it broken? Sun Jie looked at Yang Ming with concern. Come, let your sister help you take a look. No, nothing. Yang Ming sweated. He thought, I'm winking at you to tell you not to talk nonsense. Don't say that you don't understand. Isn't this creating trouble for me? However, he couldn't say it out loud. He had to say, I just had sand in my eyes. It will be fine after blinking. As Yang Ming said this, he pretended to rub his eyes. Sun Jie glanced at Lin Jiyun with a smile and looked at Zhou Jiejia. Then, she whispered in Yang Ming's ear, not bad? You changed 2 more. Do you want to have a threesome? However, when she said the word threesome, her voice was a bit loud. A few black lines suddenly appeared on Yang Ming's head. He knew that Sun Jie was retaliating against him for using Xiao Qing's QQ to talk to her last time. Sun Jie, what do you want? Yang Ming asked helplessly. I'll let you go today. I'll deal with you another day. Sun Jie snorted. Then, her voice returned to normal. Sister Xiao Qing and I heard that there was a new hot pot restaurant here, so we planned to try it. You can go ahead. I won't bother you. Oh, Sister Xiao Qing, Sister Sun Jie, goodbye. Yang Ming waved his hand with relief. He took Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejia and walked quickly into the hot pot restaurant. Zhou Jiejia had never seen Sun Jia and Xiao Qing. She wondered about their relationship with Yang Ming. It seemed a bit unusual, but it didn't seem to be. Especially when Xiao Qing said, "Godfather," she guessed that they might be siblings. However, that Sun Jia was a bit suspicious. At first glance, she should be a very arrogant person, but her tone when she talked to Yang Ming was so ambiguous, forget it. Zhou Jiejia shook her head. Anyway, these have nothing to do with me. Who cares about them? However, Lin Jiyun had some impression of Sun Jia. On Valentine's Day, she went out with Yang Ming and met Sun Jia. Of course, it was very far away. Lin Jiyun didn't see Sun Jia or Xiao Qing clearly. She only had an impression of this Audi R8 sports car. In fact, Lin Jiyun didn't know the model of the car. The reason why she had a deep impression of this car was not because she saw it once on Valentine's Day, but because she and Yang Ming went to Donghai once. They drove this car and encountered a car accident. Chapter 1043. Therefore, Lin Jiyun was particularly familiar with this car. She even memorized the license plate number. She could lend the car to Yang Ming, and she didn't complain when Yang Ming was hit like that. This in itself showed that her relationship with Yang Ming wasn't shallow, not to mention that they had met on Valentine's Day, which was even more telling. However, Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of woman who gossiped and was jealous, so even if she saw Sun Jia appear in front of her, Lin Jiyun didn't feel anything. Instead, she envied Sun Jia's nobility and dignity. When she talked to Yang Ming, she revealed her charm and sexiness. During this time in the company, Lin Jiyun would surf the internet in her free time, browsing some forums or places like Tiba. She once saw a post that said that men liked this kind of two-faced woman. She was a lady outside, but she was a slut at home. Sun Jia obviously met this requirement. This was a fickle woman, but Lin Jiyun wasn't jealous of her. Instead, she was very envious of her. Of course, the biggest reason why Lin Jiyun had a good impression of Sun Jia was that although this woman was very good, she wasn't overbearing. She didn't ask for anything when she met Yang Ming and her together twice. In fact, Lin Jiyun misunderstood Sun Jia. How was Sun Jia not overbearing? It was just that she hadn't determined that she would be with Yang Ming in the future. Once she was sure, maybe a little strategy could drive Lin Jiyun away from Yang Ming. However, it might be effective for others, but it was impossible for Yang Ming. No matter what the situation was, Yang Ming wouldn't give up another woman for a woman. If Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan had a conflict because of Lan Ling, she wouldn't have similar thoughts. Yang Ming, why don't you accompany them? Lin Jiyun saw that Sun Jia and Xiao Qing had gone far away. She whispered to Yang Ming, every time you meet them, you ignore them. It's not good, right? Ugh. It's okay. Didn't I say it before? I'm going to find Sister Xiao Qing tonight. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment. He didn't expect Lin Jiyun's mind to be so exquisite and think so much. I'm not talking about Sister Xiao Qing, but Sister Sunday. Lin Jiyun shook her head and said, she is your girlfriend, right? Ugh. Yang Ming suddenly felt awkward. He didn't expect Lin Jiyun to notice it, but it was no wonder. Xiao Qing naturally had to draw a clear line with him in front of others to prevent others from gossiping. However, Sun Jia was different. She didn't care about anything now, and her father had agreed. Sun Jia didn't have to avoid anything, so she inevitably revealed some special tone in her tone. Perhaps she didn't notice it, but Lin Jiyun was sensitive enough to notice it. Sister Jiejia and I won't say anything. Lin Jiyun was afraid that Yang Ming would be worried, so she added another sentence. Jiyun, I don't mean that. Yang Ming shook his head and smiled. I will find time to accompany her, but now the main purpose is to accompany you. Just like when I accompany her, you won't ask me to accompany you, right? After Lin Jiyun listened to Yang Ming's words, she thought about it. It was true, so she no longer insisted and entered the hot pot restaurant with Yang Ming. Sun Jie and Xiao Qing probably had a reservation. They went directly to the private room on the second floor, but it was not surprising. Although the Sun family's power was in Donghai, as Sun Jie's identity became transparent among Bao Sanli and others, Sun Jie began to be popular in Songjiang. Her network was even stronger than Yang Ming's. After all, Yang Ming's current identity was only known by a small group of people. It was not as public as Sun Jie. Sun Jie's original identity, coupled with the respect of Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan, made Sun Jie's status in Songjiang's business world soar. Therefore, it was just a small matter to book a private room in a restaurant like now. Yang Ming did not use these social connections because it was not necessary. Yang Ming was still a student. He didn't want to become the object of attention. Zhou Jiejia, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jiejia found a good place. They ordered a table of dishes and began to eat. The hot pot dishes were all prepared, so there was no need to wait. They could start eating as soon as they were served. Yang Ming and the others just sat down. Yang Ming was about to call the waiter to order drinks, but he was shocked when he looked up. Wang Xiaoyan was holding Zhao Ying's hand and entering the hot pot restaurant. Yang Ming suddenly sweated on his forehead. What happened today? Did I not look at the Chinese calendar when I went out? Why am I so unlucky? First, it was Xiao Qing and Sun Jie. Now, it is Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan. Why are they all together? It's only Lan Ling and Chen Mengyan who are here. Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan obviously saw Yang Ming sitting in the hot pot restaurant. Wang Xiaoyan didn't feel anything, but Zhao Ying looked gloomy. Today, Wang Xiaoyan came to find her. Zhao Ying originally wanted to refuse, but she couldn't stand Wang Xiaoyan coming to find her personally after the phone call. Zhao Ying hesitated. She felt that although Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were together, she couldn't affect her friendship with Wang Xiaoyan because of this matter. Otherwise, it would seem that she was too stingy. It was Yang Ming's right to choose who he wanted. Yang Ming didn't choose her but chose Wang Xiaoyan. It also proved that she was lacking compared to Wang Xiaoyan, so Zhao Ying didn't need to vent her anger on Wang Xiaoyan. Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying both liked to eat spicy flavors, but both of them had eaten in the Sichuan restaurant with Yang Ming before, so today they changed to a strange spicy hot pot that had just opened. Isn't that Yang Ming? Wang Xiaoyan blinked in the direction of Yang Ming and said to Zhao Ying. She didn't know that Zhao Ying already knew about her and Yang Ming, so she didn't avoid anything. Zhao Ying nodded faintly, and there was no trace of joy in her expression. Sister Zhao Ying, what's wrong with you? Wang Xiaoyan suddenly found that Zhao Ying's mood was a bit wrong and asked quickly. Nothing. Let's go. I don't want to eat at the restaurant at home. Zhao Ying shook her head and said. Ah. Wang Xiaoyan was somewhat inexplicable. She didn't know what happened to Zhao Ying. Sister Ying, why don't you eat here? Didn't we agree? I suddenly lost my appetite. Zhao Ying sighed. Let's change to another restaurant. Zhao Ying was afraid to see Yang Ming because she didn't know what to say. That night, the courage to persist until dawn had already disappeared, especially when she was with Wang Xiaoyan. If she met Yang Ming again, she would feel very awkward. She would feel like a third wheel, uncomfortable. You are because of Yang Ming? Wang Xiaoyan was also very smart. The association also understood the changes in Zhao Ying before and after meeting Yang Ming. Of course not. Zhao Ying wouldn't admit it. Yang Ming has already seen us. Let's go and say hello before we leave. Otherwise, it would be impolite. Wang Xiaoyan looked at Zhao Ying and said with a smile. Ah. Zhao Ying was embarrassed. She didn't expect Wang Xiaoyan to force her. She didn't eat here because she saw Yang Ming. Now, what was the difference between greeting Yang Ming and eating here? Sister Ing, did something unpleasant happen between you and Yang Ming? Seeing Zhao Ying's expression, how could Wang Xiaoyan not notice something? No, no. Zhao Ying naturally wouldn't admit it and quickly shook her head. Is there really nothing? Wang Xiaoyan looked at Zhao Ying's somewhat flustered eyes and shook her head helplessly. Sister Ing, you don't have to lie to me. Your eyes tell me that there must be something. Wang Xiaoyan was also an assassin. Her observation of people was naturally very strong. Although she was not as good as Yang Ming, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary people, so she immediately felt that something was wrong with Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying didn't know what to say. It wasn't that she didn't want to find someone to talk to, but this person couldn't be Wang Xiaoyan because Wang Xiaoyan was the character in the story she wanted to talk to. Yan Yan, you don't have to ask, okay? Zhao Ying was a little embarrassed. She didn't want to say it. If she told the truth, then her friendship with Wang Xiaoyan would definitely be affected. At least she thought so. If she and Wang Xiaoyan were both Yang Ming's women, then it would be fine. The two people would become better sisters than they were now. But now, Wang Xiaoyan was, and she wasn't, so there would inevitably be some contradictions. What's wrong? Wang Xiaoyan didn't know Zhao Ying's real thoughts, so she still kept asking, wanting to know why Zhao Ying was unhappy. You really want to know? Zhao Ying hesitated for a long time and asked. Yeah, Sister Ying, I'm very worried about you. Wang Xiaoyan nodded. Zhao Ying was her only good friend in Songjiang. Of course, besides Yang Ming, but Yang Ming and she weren't friends now. If they had to be friends, then it was more like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Zhao Ying was in Songjiang, and the only one who was close to her was Wang Xiaoyan, so she didn't speak for a long time. It was also for this reason that she was afraid that if some things were really said, there would be a crack in the friendship between the two people. It wasn't that Zhao Ying thought too much, but the fact was also the case. How many pairs of good sisters turned against each other because they liked the same man? There were too many examples like this, so Zhao Ying didn't want to take this risk. It was just that Wang Xiaoyan kept asking as if she wouldn't give up until she reached her goal, so there was no way. Zhao Ying had to say, then let's change to another place, okay? I don't want to do it here. Okay. Wang Xiaoyan nodded and waved apologetically to Yang Ming. She went out of the restaurant with Zhao Ying. Where are we going? Anywhere. I don't have an appetite. Why don't we go to your house? Zhao Ying felt that there were some things that couldn't be said outside. It was better to go to a place where there was no one. Chapter 1044. Yang Ming didn't know what to do at first, but after seeing Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan whisper a few words, the two left the restaurant. It was a bit strange, but Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jian were on the side, so it wasn't appropriate to ask. Because Yang Ming didn't think much about it before, he didn't use his special ability to watch the conversation between Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying. Yang Ming didn't want to be a voyeur all the time. Seeing Yang Ming stretching his neck like a giraffe, Lin Jian was a bit baffled. Yang Ming, what's wrong with you? Nothing. I want to call the waiter to order a drink. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment. You want a drink? Then call the waiter. Zhou Jiejia was also a bit puzzled. What was Yang Ming looking at there? She looked back, but she didn't see anything strange. Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jian were sitting with their backs to the door, so they didn't see the situation when Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying came in, but even if they saw it, they wouldn't recognize them. When they looked back, Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan had already left, so they naturally didn't see anything strange. Waiter. Yang Ming laughed twice. He reached out to the waiter and asked for a few bottles of drinks. The three of them ate again. However, Yang Ming's heart was a bit strange. What are Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan doing? They obviously saw me, but they turned around and left? Is it because they saw Zhou Jiajia and Lin Jiyun, and they are afraid of causing any misunderstanding? It was also possible that Zhao Ying was shy, and Wang Xiaoyan's relationship with him couldn't be made public, so it was normal for them to leave, so Yang Ming didn't think too much about it. Charles had been wandering around here for 2 days, trying to meet Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan again. The words that Wang Xiaoyan said to him before she left that day made him feel more and more uneasy after he went back. Not many people in Europe knew his identity, let alone in the distant Huaxia of Asia. And Wang Xiaoyan, a person he met on the road, actually knew his identity. One could imagine how terrifying this was. Originally, Charles wanted to go to the police station to ask for the names of Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming, but the people in the police station didn't care about him at all. On the one hand, it was because of Bao Sanli's face. On the other hand, they had to keep it a secret for Yang Ming. When Yang Ming showed his ID, no one asked Yang Ming a word. Originally, Charles was driving a modified car without the right of way. Who would speak for him? Therefore, Charles did not even know the names of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan and left in a daze. When he returned home and thought about what had happened that day, he felt very worried. Charles's current public identity was a racer, and he was a very successful racer. He was known as the god of racing in the industry. No one knew his family background and private identity. Even the pervasive paparazzi did not know this information. But the 2 people who happened to meet him knew. Charles didn't think that Wang Xiaoyan's sentence, "I want your European industry," was a joke. Unless Wang Xiaoyan was a psychopath, it was impossible to say such a brainless sentence. Therefore, after Charles failed to inquire at the police station, he began to wait at the place where he met Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan that day. He hoped to meet these 2 people again so that he could ask them. Heaven didn't disappoint those who tried hard. Although he didn't find Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan with his own eyes, he actually saw Yang Ming's car in the parking lot of the Strange Taste Spicy Hot Pot restaurant. It was this blue BMW X5 that crashed his sports car last time. Charles recognized it at a glance. Since the car was here, then the owner of the car must be nearby. So, Charles didn't think much and quickly walked into the hot pot restaurant. "Sir, how many people?" the waiter asked politely. "I'm looking for someone." Charles waved his hand and said. After entering the hall of the hot pot restaurant, he began to look around. When he saw Yang Ming, Charles was suddenly overjoyed. He finally found him. He didn't squat for several days in vain. Finally, he met Yang Ming in the vicinity again. Charles walked quickly to Yang Ming's table, and Yang Ming also noticed that someone was coming over. He thought it was a waiter, so he didn't pay attention. But when he looked up, he was suddenly stunned. Yang Ming's impression of Charles was quite deep. Originally, his impression of him was only based on the fact that he was a passerby, but after the words of Wang Xiaoyan, Yang Ming remembered this person in his heart. Whether he was an enemy or a friend, at least this person would be in the same line of work. "Hello, sir. What a coincidence. We meet again." Before Yang Ming spoke, Charles reached out his hand and spoke to Yang Ming in a friendly manner. As the saying goes, don't slap a smiling face. However, Yang Ming and Charles were not very familiar. Out of sympathy for him being hit by little girl Wang, Yang Ming still reached out and shook his hand, but he said, "Yeah, it's really a coincidence." Yang Ming's words were naturally sarcastic. There were no empty tables on Yang Ming's side, so Charles obviously came here for him. It was simply a lie to say that it was a coincidence. Charles smiled. Naturally, he heard the meaning of Yang Ming's words, but he didn't mind. Instead, he pointed to the seat next to Yang Ming and said, "Is there anyone here? If there is no one, can I sit here? In theory, I don't like to be disturbed by strangers when I eat." Yang Ming secretly despised Charles in his heart. This Charles's face is really thick. He asked very politely, but before Yang Ming could answer, he sat next to Yang Ming. Even if Yang Ming didn't agree, what could he do? This is the second time we are meeting. We can't be considered strangers, right? Charles smiled and said, let me introduce myself again. My name is Charles, I know. Yang Ming said faintly, racing god Charles? But I haven't heard of you. Charles broke into a sweat. He glanced at the two girls opposite him and saw that they were also indifferent. It seemed that they had never heard of his name. He couldn't help but sigh. Who are the people around this guy? Wherever I go, I am the target of screams from girls. I am the hero worshipped by men. Why is it not applicable here? I'm just playing around. Charles laughed twice. Excuse me, the lady who hit my car that day, she is not here. If you have anything to say, just tell me. Yang Ming said somewhat impatiently. I finally have a chance to eat and flirt with Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jian. Why is this guy joining in the fun? That. Charles couldn't figure out who the two girls opposite him were to Yang Ming. Did they know so much? So, he didn't dare to ask rashly. Otherwise, his identity was originally a secret. If he asked, more people would know. That what? Are you okay? Yang Ming frowned and looked at Charles. Why is this guy like a woman? He is even the heir of the assassin family. When can you finish eating? I want to talk to you alone. Charles hesitated and said. Yang Ming was really impatient. If you have something to say, just say it. If you don't have anything to say, then forget it. I am busy eating. Are you going to say it or not? If you don't want to say it, then leave quickly. I want to talk about the European industry. Charles lowered his voice and said. Yang Ming was stunned. He glanced at Charles and said, give me the phone. I will contact you when I have time. Okay. Charles saw that Yang Ming was willing to talk to him, so he quickly handed a business card to Yang Ming. However, he was more convinced at the moment that Yang Ming knew his identity because when it came to the European industry, Yang Ming immediately agreed to talk to him. You can go now. Yang Ming accepted Charles's business card and began to drive him away. Although Charles was the heir of a certain assassin group in Europe, what did he have to do with Yang Ming? Yang Ming was still the heir of the king of assassins. There was no need to be polite with him. Charles knew that it was useless for him to stay here, so he nodded and stood up. When he was about to leave, his eyes suddenly stopped on Zhou Jiejia. He suddenly felt that she was familiar, so he couldn't help but ask, Miss, I think you are very familiar. I seem to have seen you somewhere. Can you tell me your name? Zhou Jiejia nodded. Yang Ming heard Charles's words and suddenly felt a chill. He glared at this guy and said, I say, little Cha, do you have anything to say? If you have nothing to say, then get out of here. Don't harass my wife. Your excuse for chasing a girl is too old-fashioned. Charles smiled awkwardly and said, I am not making an excuse. I really feel that you are familiar. Pardon me for asking, but is your surname Zhou? Zhou Jiejia and Yang Ming were both stunned at the same time. Just now, Zhou Jiejia didn't say a word. Yang Ming and Lin Jian didn't call her name. How did this person know her surname? How do you know? Zhou Jiejia looked up at Charles inexplicably and frowned. Do you know me? Sure enough, it is you. Charles nodded and said with some surprise, Zhou Jiejia, I have seen your photos from others before. You are more beautiful than in the photos. Really? Zhou Jiejia didn't care about Charles's praise, but she wondered that he had seen her photo. My photo? Where did you see it? Hee, a friend. Charles smiled and said, I will invite you to dinner another day. I say, are you done yet? Yang Ming glared at Charles and looked at him coldly. Are you leaving or not? Leaving. Charles was shocked by the murderous intent that Yang Ming instantly revealed, but he was surprised in his heart. If Yang Ming knew my identity, would he still dare to talk to me like this? Then, does he know my identity or not? Or is it just nonsense from the woman that day? Chapter 1045. Charles stood up awkwardly and raised his hands to show his innocence. I just said it casually. I will leave. I will leave immediately. I won't send you off. Yang Ming said faintly. Charles was a little depressed. I am actually afraid of an ordinary young man. However, Yang Ming seemed to know his identity, which made him feel restless. After Charles left, Yang Ming complained helplessly, this guy is really inexplicable. Yeah, but I don't know how he knows me. It's really strange. Zhou Jiejia frowned and asked, what is his name? Charles? Charles. He is a racer and is known as the god of racing. Yang Ming said, why? You are a computer genius. Are you planning to go back and do some human search on him? I have this plan. Zhou Jiejia smiled and said, this guy is really annoying. He knows my identity. If I don't know his identity, then I will be at a disadvantage. Yang Ming didn't care. He didn't think that Zhou Jiejia could search for Charles's true identity. After all, for Charles, it was impossible to disclose information related to his true identity to anyone and the media. Therefore, what could be searched on the internet was probably only some information about him as a racer. After that, they were not disturbed. The three people ate happily. After the meal, Yang Ming paid the bill and went out of the hot pot restaurant with Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun. Tomorrow was the day of school, so the three of them had to go back and pack up as soon as possible. It was easy for Zhou Jiejia. After she was injured, Yang Ming had bought all the things that she could use at school and put them in the villa. Lin Jiyun, on the other hand, had a lot of things at home, so Yang Ming had to send Lin Jiyun back first. After arriving at Shanty Town, Yang Ming was surprised to find that in the original office of the demolition company in Shanty Town, there were a few simple houses with the slogan, Temporary Office of the Demolition Company, hanging on them. Yang Ming was taken aback at that time. He thought, why is the demolition company still here? Then, he realized that something was wrong because Yang Ming clearly found that there were more residents here than when Madman Ma was here before. Everyone had a smile on their faces. After taking a closer look, he realized that the sign of the demolition company had been replaced by Ming Yang. Suddenly, he remembered that Dekang Real Estate had already belonged to his name. No wonder these residents would become enthusiastic. Yang Ming had mentioned this to Bao Sanli before. The demolition fee should be given enough. Don't be as harsh as Wei Dekang before. These residents got benefits, so they were naturally happy. Lin Jiyun hadn't been home for a few days, so she didn't know that so many major events had happened. Looking at the neighbors who were rushing here to do the demolition procedures, she thought that the demolition company had given the residents here an ultimatum. She couldn't help but sigh. In the past few years, violent demolitions had happened repeatedly, and the attitude of the demolition company could be seen. Lin Jiyun knew that the residents of the community were not the opponents of Dekang Real Estate, so she felt a little uncomfortable at this time. Yang Ming, I don't know how my family is doing. I didn't expect the demolition company to be so anxious. I left for a few days, and they have already started the demolition. Don't worry. Seeing Lin Jiyun's worried look, Yang Ming smiled and comforted her. Of course, Lin Jiyun didn't think much about it. She thought that Yang Ming was just comforting her. She slightly accelerated her pace and wanted to see the situation at home as soon as possible. However, when she returned home and saw the demolition results, Lin Jiyun was stunned. What? After our house is demolished, can we change to a duplex? Lin Jiyun felt that it was a bit incredible. Isn't this developer a psychopath? My broken house, after the reconstruction, can be exchanged for an ordinary economic housing, which is already very good. They actually gave my family a duplex of more than 200 square meters. My house is now less than 200 square meters. Isn't this a joke? If this continues, won't the developer lose money? Shin Yueping's face was full of smiles. Yun I really have to thank little Yang this time. The demolition company took special care of our family. When the demolition company heard that we were your parents, they said that Yang Ming had already talked to them and gave us a discount. Shin Yueping's face was full of smiles. Ah. Then other families. Lin Jiyun thought that it was indeed true. Although her family was better, other families would still be taken advantage of. Why does it seem that other families are very happy now? Other families have also received sufficient compensation according to the maximum standard limit, so everyone is very satisfied. Shin Yueping explained. This was also Yang Ming's intention. He was not a savior. It was impossible for him to take care of everyone. Doing business was doing business. If he took special care of them because of this kind of illusory interpersonal relationship, then there was no need to make money. What Yang Ming could do was to give them the maximum amount they deserved. But even so, everyone was already very satisfied because this compensation was enough for them to buy a small house in a not very prosperous area. Those who did not ask for compensation would be allocated a house with the same size as the current house after the house was built. Although it was a house in the future, many people also chose to ask for a house. After all, after the house was built, whether it was the appreciation space or the total value, it was more cost-effective than directly taking money. The demolition company was replaced by a friend's company. It was just a small effort to say hello. Yang Ming smiled and said, in fact, it's nothing. But during the demolition and reconstruction period, what did Auntie Shen and Uncle Lin decide to do? We plan to rent a house first. It is said that construction will start in the spring. The first phase of construction will be an economic residential building. The residents of the community will move back first, said Shin Yueping. Jiyun, didn't you make a lot of money in the company? Just buy a house. Don't rent it. Yang Ming glanced at Lin Jiyun and said. This was what the two of them had discussed before, so Lin Jiyun nodded with an oh. The house here will be built soon. Why do you want to buy another one? Shin Yueping asked with some doubts. It's a waste of money. Yun you should save your money. Don't spend it recklessly. Mom. Lin Jiyun smiled and said, how can this be a waste? Buying a house is actually an investment. After buying it, we will live here first. After the construction is done, we will move back. The newly bought house can be rented. No matter how you look at it, it's an industry. We won't lose money. Shin Yueping didn't expect her daughter to have such an economic mind. However, now that she thought about it, Lin Jiyun was a manager in the company. Naturally, it was different from the past. Since she said it was an investment, and Yang Ming didn't object, then it must be. So, she no longer objected. Then do as you said. I don't care. After Lin Chongqing returned to Songjiang, he was busy researching a small business. He hadn't come back yet. Because school would start tomorrow, Yang Ming didn't wait here. He said goodbye to Shin Yueping and left. Zhou Jiejia was still waiting in the car outside, so after Yang Ming came out of the Lin family, he walked quickly in the direction of the car. When he came to the car, Yang Ming was stunned. He saw several people wearing the uniform of the demolition company beating a few young men. Yang Ming suddenly frowned. I have repeatedly emphasized to Bao Sanli not to use any violent means to demolish. Why did they start to beat people under my nose? Although several security guards of the Ming Yang company were sent here to maintain order in order to maintain the normal operation of the demolition company, they weren't sent here to beat people, right? What's the matter? Yang Ming walked to the front and asked several demolition personnel. One of the people who looked like a leader saw Yang Ming ask and quickly smiled. Brother Yang. This person had seen Yang Ming before. These underlings from the Nightless Club had now become small leaders, but they all knew that the relationship between Yang Ming and Bao Sanli wasn't shallow. This could be seen from the fact that this BMW was used by Yang Ming. This was Brother Bao's car. What's going on? Yang Ming pointed to a few staff members who were beating people over there, as well as a few young men who were beaten black and blue on the ground. Brother Yang, these people are the little gangsters nearby. You weren't here just now. Sister-in-law went to the grocery store to buy water, and she was entangled by them. They even touched her, The leader seemed to be afraid that Yang Ming would misunderstand, so he quickly explained. Sister-in-law? Yang Ming was stunned, and then he thought of Zhou Jiejia. He opened the car door and saw Zhou Jiejia holding a bottle of drink in her hand. It shouldn't be wrong. It seemed that he had misunderstood. Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. Then he said, well done. You can continue. Zhou Jiejia was really cool. When he wasn't here, Zhou Jiejia was a little thirsty, so she got out of the car to buy water. These little gangsters were actually scumbags nearby. For the residents here, they generally didn't provoke them, but when they saw that Zhou Jiejia was a new face and looked so attractive, they became bold and flirted with her. Zhou Jiejia may have ignored them, but they thought that Zhou Jiejia was scared, so they chased after her. They wanted to touch her, but they happened to be seen by several staff members in the demolition company who were responsible for safety. They had already noticed Yang Ming's car. At this time, they saw Zhou Jiejia being entangled by a few little gangsters. How could they? They were the ancestors of the gangsters. How could they allow these little trash to be arrogant? In terms of ruthlessness, they were much more ruthless than Madman Ma's group. It was just that they didn't use their ruthlessness on the residents. However, these little gangsters were different. They dared to pester Brother Yang's woman. Didn't they want to die? So they rushed out, grabbed a few gangsters, and started beating them until they couldn't find their bearings. Chapter 1046. Only then did the nearby residents see how fierce the people of the demolition company were. It was even better than before, but they were dealing with the punks. Naturally, others were too lazy to meddle in other people's business. However, there were a few restless residents. Some greedy residents had calmed down a lot. At first, when they saw the attitude of the demolition company was amiable and easy to talk to, they wanted to extort more money from them. They were discussing to be nail households. Some people were satisfied with their share, but some people were very greedy. When they were greedy, they began to study how to get more benefits. However, now that they had seen the means of the people of the demolition company, they did not dare to act rashly. The previous Nail Households Alliance also collapsed in an instant. Many people retreated. The people in the leading organization had to give up. It was not that they were weak, but they did not make a move. When they made a move, they were fiercer than Madman Ma. Your friends? After getting in the car, Zhou Jiejia asked strangely. Well, a friend's men. Yang Ming smiled and said, did they scare you just now? No, just a few punks. I went back to the car, but they didn't leave. They were circling around. Zhou Jiejia shook her head. I didn't know what to do. They rushed out and beat up these little punks. It's their bad luck. Yang Ming said, right, school will start tomorrow. Is there anything to buy? Let's go buy it together. No need. We have everything at home. I've checked. Zhou Jiejia shook her head. Now, only she and Yang Ming were left. There were some things she wanted to ask Yang Ming, but she didn't know how to ask. Well, then let's go straight home. Yang Ming nodded and started the car. Those little punks really had no eyesight. They could see Zhou Jiejia's identity just from the car she was in and the license plate. They still dared to provoke her. They were doomed to be little punks, and it was impossible for them to have much development. Several people were beaten until they couldn't get up. They didn't know why they were beaten, but they couldn't ask because they could no longer speak. Zhao Ying followed Wang Xiaoyan to Wang Xiaoyan's house. "Sister Ying, take a seat." Wang Xiaoyan saw Zhao Ying standing there in a daze. She was somewhat baffled. What was wrong with Sister Ying today? Why was it so strange? Oh, okay. Zhao Ying was thinking about something, so she was a little absent-minded. When she heard Wang Xiaoyan's question, she recovered and sat on the sofa. Wang Xiaoyan went to the refrigerator and took out 2 bottles of drinks. She handed one to Zhao Ying, then sat beside Zhao Ying and asked, "Sister Ying, what's wrong with you? What's the matter? Just say it." "Yan Yan, do you usually live alone? Aren't you lonely?" Zhao Ying hesitated. It was not good to ask about Yang Ming directly, so she planned to find some topics to talk about first. "Yes, what's wrong?" Wang Xiaoyan nodded. "But Sister Ying, you live close to me now. You can come and accompany me." "Okay, then how about I live with you every day?" Zhao Ying said, but she kept paying attention to Wang Xiaoyan's expression. Wang Xiaoyan felt bitter in her heart, but she couldn't show the slightest unhappiness on her face. She said, "Okay, let's be like before." Seeing that Wang Xiaoyan's face didn't show any discomfort, Zhao Ying felt a little strange. She thought, if she came here, then what about Yang Ming? Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming are not. "Yan Yan, do you have a boyfriend?" Zhao Ying saw that Wang Xiaoyan was not abnormal. She had no choice but to ask more directly. "Boyfriend?" Wang Xiaoyan's heart tightened. Today, Zhao Ying is weird. She asked me if I live alone, and now she asks if I have a boyfriend. Does she suspect something? It shouldn't be. The matter between me and Yang Ming is not publicized. I won't say it, and Yang Ming won't say it. Then, how does Zhao Ying know? However, this was just a guess. Wang Xiaoyan didn't show any panic on the surface. Instead, she complained, "Sister Ying, don't you know a little about my family situation? Why would I find a boyfriend?" Zhao Ying did know a little about Wang Xiaoyan's family situation. She knew that she seemed to have run away from home because she wanted to escape from marriage, but it was just a general idea. She didn't know the details. Moreover, it seemed that she had an agreement with her family. After college, she would go back home and get married, right? At first, Zhao Ying sympathized with her for a while, but Wang Xiaoyan wasn't willing to mention it specifically. Zhao Ying couldn't ask. "Really?" After Zhao Ying heard it, she sighed faintly and said, "Yan Yan, both of us came to Songjiang from other places. We have no relatives and no friends here. I regard you as my best sister, so I don't want you to hide anything from me." Zhao Ying sighed faintly and said, "Sister Ying, I didn't hide anything from you." Wang Xiaoyan was more and more shocked. "Sister Ying, if you have something to say, just say it, okay?" "Okay." Zhao Ying saw that Wang Xiaoyan didn't admit it, so she could only make it clear. "Yan Yan, you and Yang Ming. Are you already together?" Zhao Ying thought for a long time, but she couldn't think of what words to use to describe it, so she could only ask vaguely. "Ah." Wang Xiaoyan didn't expect that Zhao Ying really asked about this matter. However, how could Wang Xiaoyan reveal a flaw so easily? So, she asked with some doubts, "Sister Ying, why do you say that?" "Yan Yan, you don't have to hide it from me." Zhao Ying smiled bitterly and shook her head. "Actually, I saw everything. What did you see, Sister Ying?" Wang Xiaoyan asked quickly. That day, you and Yang Ming came back hand in hand and went into your villa together. As a result, Yang Ming didn't come out for the whole night. Zhao Ying sighed. "Yan Yan, I know that I have no reason to stop you and him, but I just hope that you can tell me about it. Sister Ying, you are talking about this. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly said with a look of realization. Wang Xiaoyan had already thought about it in her heart. It seems that Zhao Ying really knows something, and she even caught the evidence. I blame myself and Yang Ming for being careless. I can't do such brainless things in the future. Wang Xiaoyan was a person who did things very carefully, but when she was with Yang Ming, she didn't know why. She would be so impulsive and forget herself. However, in just a moment, Wang Xiaoyan also found an excuse to absolve herself. It wasn't that Wang Xiaoyan deliberately deceived Zhao Ying, but there were some things that couldn't be explained to Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying wasn't a person in the assassin world. If she knew too much, it wouldn't be good for her. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't tell her about the assassin group. Yang Ming and I, although it seems that it has gone beyond a partnership in the general sense, but more like a couple, Wang Xiaoyan also knew that the future of her and Yang Ming was very uncertain. Once the Black Butterfly assassin group couldn't become the world's #1, then she had to keep her promise and go home to get married. At that time, everything would become meaningless. How? Zhao Ying saw that Wang Xiaoyan didn't have any embarrassment, but her expression was natural. She wondered, Yan Yan, you and him. Sister Ying, you are talking about Yang Ming and me. Wang Xiaoyan said with a smile, I asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend. Pretend to be your boyfriend? Zhao Ying was stunned after listening. She looked at Wang Xiaoyan, puzzled. Why would he pretend to be your boyfriend? Yeah. Wang Xiaoyan nodded and said, Sister Ying, you know the situation of my family. I don't want to marry a stranger who has no feelings for me. A few days ago, my father called again and told me to go back and get married after graduation. I was a little annoyed at that time, so I told him that I already had a boyfriend. My father is by my side, so there should be some people secretly monitoring me. I wanted to anger him, so I deliberately found Yang Ming to put on a show and let them pass the wrong information to my father. I guess he should be very angry now, right? Is that so? Zhao Ying didn't expect the truth of the matter to be like this. Yang Ming came to pretend to be Wang Xiaoyan's boyfriend. Then he spent the night with you. Of course he slept in 2 rooms. Sister Ying, you are so stupid. Wang Xiaoyan giggled. If Yang Ming knew the identity that Wang Xiaoyan made up for him, who knew what he would think? Maybe he would say, motherfucker, I am a professional at pretending to be someone's boyfriend. I have to find a chance to open a boyfriend rental company and make a lot of money. Then why didn't you tell me before? Zhao Ying listened and let out a long sigh of relief. You didn't ask. Wang Xiaoyan shrugged innocently. Yang Ming and I live very close, and you know that I don't usually talk to guys, so I got him to be my man. I thought you guys. Zhao Ying said with some embarrassment. What did you think? You thought I stole your boyfriend? Wang Xiaoyan giggled and said, if you want to talk about stealing, it's not me. I live next to him, so I saw everything clearly. In just a few days, there are 3 little beauties living in the house. Sister Ying, you are in danger. He is like this, but I like him. Zhao Ying sighed. I'm sorry, Yan Yan, I misunderstood you. It's okay. Wang Xiaoyan shook her head and said, we are good sisters, why are you apologizing? Wang Xiaoyan suddenly had an impulse in her heart. One day, it would be great if she could become a real sister with Zhao Ying, but her life experience would not allow her to do so. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.